That is so cool. And for those that aren't familiar, JK is a ripper down from the Peninsula way, and
he's Australia's Jeff Kendall.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, because he was
always
really good on
perfectly.
Yeah, really.
Did you do that? Used to assign who their pro was.
Yes.
You'd have
everyone had an equivalency, in terms of their style or their technique.
Because Dean, I'm not sure if you know this, you were Melbourne's Tommy Guerrero.
Okay.
Ooh. Just fast and speed lines, good style. Yeah, you were
very nice.
You're
very
our
nice.
teacher.
I haven't got I've got a lot of facial hair, but I haven't got a styled facial hair as he has.
It's not about the hair; it's about the vibe.
I like it. And natural foot as well.
So then we sort of started going to that ramp at Rye and learning to ride it and stuff. But it was so
This the one behind the shop.
Yeah, and it was I think it was 10 foot tall, 2 foot avert, bits of unintentional oververt, and
proper 80s
PVC coping cut down the middle, screwed at the top, an escalator that was not meant to be there. So we just skated that all the time, and with Jamie and a little crew, and Renton would come down on the holidays because his family had a holiday house somewhere, and so we'd get at summer, because so many people go to the Peninsula, so we'd get this injection of all these city dudes that skated at Paran and sort of would...
They'd be down there.
Yeah, and sort of influence the scene.
Was it a closed shop? As in, could anyone just roll in and skate that ramp?
Yeah, it was $2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so this is my first job. I remember George Patterson, the guy that owned Peninsula Surf Centre and then later PSC, one of the partners, he said, I was age 11, and he goes, I'm going to give you the best job you'll ever have. Which is not true in retrospect, but at the time it was, and so my job was to collect. At
the time, you've had plenty of jobs at age 11. Yeah.
But at the time I was right. You're right. You are right. This is an amazing career. So I just collect. My job was to collect the $2 and just clean up and make sure it was all fine, sort of thing. And that sort of evolved into I just started working in the shop because I wanted to do that. When you got to go behind the counter in a skate shop.
That was pretty special.
Dude, if you could walk into a skate shop and you could go behind the counter without question.
Yep. My favourite thing nowadays
that was a badge of you're a made man.
Yeah, I still get excited when I go to Goliath. I go behind the counter and I just open the cabinets and check what I want and everything, and I feel so comfortable back there. It is the place. It's just so good. I want to just set a board up for someone.
I remember pushing the boundaries to see if I was allowed to go behind, and just being behind the counter and going, oh, behind the counter. It was so I think my whole thing. It's just I just really get into stuff and have hot, the things that I love, I just hold in such high esteem.
Yes.
And the things I'm not interested in,
you throw them right out.
I have a slight disdain for, maybe, which isn't very positive. So yeah, we skated there all the time. And
you started as a vert skater?
I just started as a skater. So that was the thing.
Good way to describe it. Skateboarding.
So but that was the whole thing. It was everyone wanted to skate vert. But then most of us just skated street because that's all there was, sort of thing.
So were you dropping in and airs and stuff on that ramp, or was that...
Not then. I could drop... By the end, I could drop in and do a few little airs, but the ramp was so bad. It was sort of later on, after I went through the mini ramp craze, then you could just go...
You had that feeling already of transition.
And you could get a cheeky revert in because you just had the moat. The mini ramp was just so good. And then you go to all these skate parks where it was there's an 8-foot one. They actually cut that ramp down. I think they cut a foot of vert off it and they moved it. And then I was I could go to town. You could just skate it like a mini ramp sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I could never do airs over 2 foot or anything. I didn't have that blast sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I sort of related more to street skating straight away. Actually, at that comp at Rye, they had this car park in the Safeway that had this the trolley bay came out, so it had a curved curb, and so if you got onto it, you could go around the corner and then
rail slides around the corner.
Or no, a grind. You'd start up at the top.
And do up on the.
But then you could sort of get in, and then you could go around to tail slide and stuff like that. And it was so waxed, right? And remember, you're talking about in the last episode, Poz, the guy that ran Perfect Transition. So, because all these guys were wrestling characters to me. They was all just larger than life and just, it was just so it was like just going through a portal sort of thing of
Yeah.
like coolness from like the boring world. So Poz is wearing like overalls and he's like, you know, a big bear of a man, and then he's hurling, and these are all men to us. Like, do you know what I mean? They're terrifying. So he's got going so fast to this like thing, and he misses catching the corner and goes straight into the pole of the trolley bay. Like, I think it bent the pole, and then he just flies up, and all his friends are just like, I'm just like, that dude's dead. And then all his friends, I would love to know who they, because I'm sure I know them all now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Johnny McGrath could have been there. And I didn't
Shane
even
George
know.
and all those guys, yeah.
I just remember Poz because he had the overalls on. And he just got up and all his friends were laughing at him. And me and my brother were just like going, what the fuck's going on? Like, these people are nuts. And then, so that really sparked me off. And then I sort of quit football and just was like, towel that. And then, like, there was like some good skaters. Like Jason Ellis used to skate there because his mum like lived in Rye. So he would go there, and he would just be. It was really funny because Mark Grayson was there as well. So, you know,
he's a ripper.
Yeah, and he was like, Corey Webster. Like, he was the good guy, the guy that was good at the ramp but was really nice to you. And then Alice was the guy at the ramp that was really good, that was just a prick. And I was just a willing goober that I was just like, I'm just going to wear it. I was actually telling Greg this yesterday. He had a flyaway helmet, Alice. So then I got a flyaway helmet, and he's like 5 years older than me. And, you know, his family life, like reading his book and stuff, like I was like, oh yeah, of course you'd hate me. Like, I'm rocking up with I've got $50 worth of tracker accessories on my, you know, totally Tony Hawked out.
Every tailbone and everything.
And the tracker copers with the little things that
hold them
on the side and the lap, like it was insane. And I remember, like, I got a flyaway, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for Alice to get here. I'm going to show him this flyaway and stuff. And I go, oh, look, Jason, I got a flyaway, and he just goes, fucking great, and just walks off, and I'm like, I'll get him next time. So, and then they had this sequence. They got Transworld in at the shop, which was life changing because that was just something to get every month to just like, yeah. And there was a sequence. They were at some skate camp in Switzerland or something. The articles, like, you know, 87 maybe, and there's a sequence of him doing a paddleless McTwist, right? And it's sort of like, it's the same issue where they had Gons doing the first like stale fish at the same place. And so like I see that in the magazine, Jason gets in, and I'm like, oh, hey Jason, you wouldn't believe it, in the new Transworld, Tony Hawk does like a paddleless McTwist. He goes, you don't know what a McTwist is. Like, I'm like, oh, come. So we go in, I show him, and he just like goes, ugh, and walks off, and I'm like, I'll get him next time. Like,
Did you ever
and then Mark was just so nice. Like, it was just such a weird. There was such like the
yin and yang, yeah.
Yeah, like the archetypes sort of thing. Yeah. And I remember Grayson won. He won the street contest on the Early Bird show. Like, he won the final and stuff, and he did this boneless off a wall.
Yeah, you can't say that in front of a brother. He got ripped on that from Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I remember Grayson, right? He did. Remember they had like a quarter pipe, and then they have that little wedge thing.
Yeah.
So Grayson like ran up the wedge and then boosted off the wall of the studio to do a boneless. And I remember, oh God, the things I remember are so bad. Marie, the host, goes on the microphone, goes, "Oh, Mark." And I remember like waiting for him, because then he went to the ramp after it, and I remember, I think we were waiting out the front of the shop because we knew he was coming, and it was just like, is this on TV? And he had the Veriflex board that he won, and not that he was going to ride it or anything, but yeah. And so Grayson actually ended up being a big, he sort of just taught me everything about, because then I'd work with him at PSC later on and stuff, and he I owe that dude a lot. He's a champ, and man, God, he could skate, like
really stylish,
like solid,
super stylish.
Yeah, we used to skate with him at Peasley's a little bit, like that big rampy Mount Isa.
Yep.
And man, he just like...
So with
his
that
airs
stuff,
were
when you
so
first
solid.
met Jason and all that skating at the ramp, how old were you then? Maybe 12 or something? Or?
Yeah, 12,
Yeah.
13, and then it sort of led up to that, oh, how's this, right? So Alice comes to the ramp one day and says, I quit school, I'm going to be a pro skater. And we're just like,
This is before all Snake Pit sponsorship
yeah,
and all that
and then he
stuff.
just moved to Paran and just skated the ramp for a year, and then he was in the ramp right the next year,
Yeah.
which is like pretty sick.
He killed it. He was like so powerful and stylish. I love his. I could sit there and watch
Still
him skate
wasn't
all
nice
day.
to me though. But I loved it. He was so good.
He'd be
when he
nice
skated
to you
for-
now. He's a nice man.
He
now.
wasn't nice to anyone.
Yeah, right. But he was so rad. Like when he skated for Planet Earth and stuff, I was just like, oh.
It was so fitting that it was Planet Earth because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Miller and him is like Jason's kind of got a bit of Chris Miller and a little bit of the sort of some of those sluggo boys and those big tough kind of
Yeah, but it was sort of funny in that whole, like, how I was saying, like, the Tommy Guerrero thing and all that.
Yeah.
Because Alice was sort of like our Chris Miller, and then Dom was sort of like our Tony,
Tony
Hawk,
Hawk.
and they all, like, I was like, oh, that's perfect. And then
Yeah.
Ebo skated for Vision through Gongs. So it was sort of everyone sort
Evo's
of...
style wasn't a Gon style though.
Oh, no. He did, like,
Ollie
Deckers
Tail and stuff. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he had that...
Yep.
Like
But he
that-
had a bit more style outside of that trick. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But that ollie to tail stuff and that frontside ollie sort of stuff was a bit gonzy. Yeah.
The but then there was a big the demo at Paran, like at the Hawk Hazoi one, and that was, I think there's some pictures, I think one of like Lee Ralph or something. But me and Jamie we left Rosebud at like nighttime essentially. It was like 6 a.m. We got the bus. Then we got the train to Paran, and we got there at like 8:30 in the morning, and just got a spot on the fence, and just like waited till 5:30 for the demo, and had no idea about all the people that were behind us. Like, but that was just, I remember seeing like Tony Hawk and just like losing my shit, like
Just to see them in our local
easily on the
skate
level of like a Taylor Swift person seeing Taylor Swift,
Beatlemania.
just like
spot. Yeah.
because it was so disjointed, like, because they never toured. I remember like finding out there was a tour. I remember they did that little Veriflex ramp demo in the middle of the city, and it was like Tony Hawk and Jeff Phillips and that. Just find that was sort of before I was just clicked in.
Yep, that was at City Square. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yep.
And they had an article about it in Transworld, which I just read, just like, oh, this is. And I was such a fan. I remember going past the City Square and going, Tony Hawk was there once. I wonder if he stayed in that hotel. Like, just like that level of drooling, just being that like fascinated and in with it. But yeah, that demo was just like to see, I went to they had this Bones Brigade experience thing at the Vans Park recently in California.
Oh, yes. Yep, for like an anniversary or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was sort of like a Comic-Con-y, like they had a panel and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it was sort of like, it just made me, like they were our superhero. Like it was like if the Avengers were real people. And they were there talking about the time they beat Thanos. Like just the whole, like the chin thing, like they were just such superstars. And then it sort of all got diluted once they came here a lot and our skaters caught up to them and stuff. But it just seemed like impossible to be as good as an American sort of thing.
You're right.
And I feel like only a few people, and full credit, like aspired. They sort of went, oh no, I reckon I can work it out, sort of thing. Like, but I think the consensus was like, there's Australian good and then there's American good.
Yeah. That's now diluted and it's much more. There's good, but you're right. Back then there was a big difference.
Oh,
between
now it's all just. It's just what you do with it, sort of thing. But there's like I went skating at the just up near Queen Vic Market the other day, and I saw the hardest skateboard trick I've ever seen in real life. And it's just like, whoa.
At the Vic Market.
Yeah. I can't say what it is though, but it was just so.
Are we going to see it on someone's part? Whose part?
Adam Davies, who skates.
Oh, he's so good, man.
Yeah, he skates for sure. So, and he's also my brother-in-law. So we're there.
Is he really?
Yeah. We both married into the same family. So,
Right.
So I've known him for
Lucky
like so
him.
long. And it's so weird. His part was so ridiculous, that Thrasher part.
Yeah.
But I'd see it on his phone, like bits of it in my mother-in-law's house. So it didn't seem that exciting. Like I was just like, oh, maybe everyone's just this good. Because it's hard to work out how good people are, like, or just the base level. And then when I saw it on the screen, like at the premiere before that, I'm like, oh no, he's like,
it was good.
It's just him. But it was just like so weird to see these tricks.
Did he even get a nomination for Society?
Yeah, for the Australian one, yeah.
Because that's like, that part was seriously good.
Yeah, and he got like nominated for like, I don't know, there's like a Street League Trick of the Year something.
Yeah. Was that rail to rail thing?
No, his one was he did kickflip, backtail, kickflip out, which had sort of never been done on a full size rail. But I have no idea what I'm even prattling about anymore. Oh, about how good skateboarding is, in the 80s. So that demo at Paran was just like, I remember like, because it was on a school day, it was a Friday night. Yeah, and my parents were like pretty, not like they were pretty strict, they were just like sort of moderate, so asking for a day off school was like, it wasn't a guarantee. And I remember just being in my room, and there's pictures of like all flood on here of my room, and it's just like just decked out with like posters. It's just wall to wall skateboarding,
skate porn.
And I remember just psyching myself up in the bedroom, like with my debate points to go into Mum. And Mum, to her credit, like, I think I didn't even get to say all my things. Like I was going to say, look, he's going to be here. And she just went, oh yeah, you'd love that. You should go. And I remember just like, oh, but it was like...
there's your room there. There's all those pictures you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think I don't think the poster... The flyer for that demo's up.
No, there was one for a 91. It's behind our picture there. But that's a bit later. So that would have been... that picture must have been from later, so...
Yeah, so...
Especially when you look at some of those tricks on there.
Yeah, it's sort of edging into the
the demo
street area.
The demo you're talking about, was that not also the night when they did the launch of the...
Public domain
up at the Fun Factory?
I didn't get to go.
You didn't? Oh.
Nah, because I was staying at my oldest brother Shane's house, and I don't know, I just couldn't get it was like, to be out in Paran after night was like, that was pushing it too far.
Already,
Yeah, so we went and saw some brutal Sylvester Stallone movie instead, and I remember it's like,
oh, you still stayed out and watched the movie?
No, but we went with my brother.
Yeah, he could have gone to public domain.
Yeah, no, he was like... He was footballer. He wasn't that keen. But it was so... Like, in retrospect, I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. But at the time, just to get... Like, it was like, I've won the battle.
Yeah, don't
like,
push it too far. Yeah,
But it was just... Yeah, to see them all skate and just to see them, it was just... It was so good.
Yeah. And so in terms of comps and stuff like that, did you go into many comps yourself?
Yeah, I used to love those days of, we'd all just end up like in Greensboro, and there'd be a little...
Oh, so you didn't just stay on the peninsula for the comps, you'd go everywhere?
Nah, I'd do like 3 hours public transport to get anywhere. Like
I don't know how we even found out about all those comps, because now it's all on social media, but back then...
We used to get newsletters.
You'd have to find it from a... they would send it to the local shop or whatever, and you'd see a poster or something, or someone would mention it.
Yeah, local shops, and I used to get... Was it VSA or the Paran Skate?
The Vic Skate Association.
Yeah. So I remember I used to get a letter, like telling me when the comps are coming out, and you get a little zine and stuff with the black and white stuff.
Yeah.
So there'd be comps, and like you were like a fixture at all that stuff.
Yeah.
You and Grant and like Ralph and like Greg and Ben and everyone would go, and it would be out in Kew, and then it would be in Greensboro, and that's just how you'd meet people, and it was such a weird like melting pot, because like in retrospect there was probably no one there over like 23, like even the dude running it.
23 would have been like the oldest person you didn't even know anyone older than that, apart from your parents.
It was real Lord of the Flies situation, and how everyone dealt with everyone and stuff. And then they'd have like at Hardcore, remember they'd have a comp on the last Sunday of every month.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes we'd use the old demo ramps, and sometimes we had built some other ones that we'd add to that as well.
Yeah, there was those ledges, and they had the 2 ledges that went
off. The ledges off the platform and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember they'd done it, and each comp was sponsored by one of their board companies, right? And I remember it was like the turnover of companies was so crazy that I think maybe Shine or something. And by the time it got to that month, that company wasn't even around anymore.
They promoted at the start of the month, and next month it's already gone. Yeah.
But those days were like sick, and I'd go up and once the street skating thing started, and we got the park at Mornington, which was huge for like, you know, that whole scene, the spine ramp and later the vert ramp, and you know there was like sick demos there, and everyone, like, it was only 15 minutes from my house on a bus, which is just nothing, and the best skateboarders, like, that's where they were, especially if it's a weekend and it's raining.
Through that winter months,
track was packed, and there was like dudes that were like, you know, like Ellis and Tass and that, they were just so good that you were just seeing like the best dudes. That
was the best thing about that place, is that they had some awesome ramps, and there was a go-kart track, had everything I loved, and then you'd always find it didn't matter what day you went, there was always someone there that you could skate with and have fun with, and get, you know, there was a friend that you knew. And it kept on growing and stuff, so the go-kart track became a street course after a while as well. And all the ramps got, like I said, the vert ramp got built and stuff. That was awesome. To have that as your local, that would have been amazing.
It was sick. Well, the good thing about being on the peninsula was there's a lot of space. So there was tons of back, like when the mini ramp thing happened, like I would have had like maybe 10 mini ramps. Like with access, like I could ring up and say, "Oh, can we come around session?" Because I'd have them all built.
Where did they steal the wood from? Because there isn't as many housing estates getting built like there were down at mine. But no one else stole wood from what I understand.
They had such space, like out the back of Rosebud, like Bonio and that. You know, people just had acres or, you know, whatever big spaces are measured in. But so you'd sort of go, they'd just build, you know, someone's dad would build them a mini ramp. And we had mini ramps of all different shapes. We had like my friend Andy in Red Hill had a spine ramp, and I remember Gregor Rankin was trying to find out about it.
Oh, really?
Like he'd heard about it and stuff, and we were just like, oh, it's sick. Like,
so speaking of Gregor, it kind of links to the store connection that you have, because you've mentioned earlier on about Peninsula Surf Centre becoming PSC as a skate shop. It had skateboarding within the Peninsula Surf, but then it became its own kind of brand. You were working at the shop and progressed it into what became PSC to some degree. You were a part of that.
Well, the story with that one is I was doing like a punk rock fanzine, right? Which is the things I've.
This is one of the many.
I swear,
aspects
like
of the story.
I don't know how my brain. It's just not right. Like I think I could get diagnosed for whatever that thing is, but it sort of works. But in the end, so I was doing this punk rock Star Wars themed fanzine called Return of the Punk Guy, right? Because it had the double meaning, right? Jedi Punk Guy. And so I sort of worked out how it would work. Like I got it printed, like it was on newsprint and stuff, and we'd get thousands done. And we'd have sweet, like we were the first, like anything in Australia to like interview Blink 182, and so then like when they come out, we'd just go muck around and do stuff, and like Pennywise and NoFX and all that stuff. So I was doing that, but then I was like on the Dole at the same time, and I was getting like where they make you go for interviews and stuff, and like I'd just gotten out of high school, and I was sort of just like, this is not good. Like I didn't want to grow up, because I was sort of like, you know, everyone, especially on the peninsula, everyone wanted to grow up. And I was like, I don't know, I reckon that's a con. Like, no one seems that stoked once
they actually grow up.
Shit. And then back then, there wasn't the, like, culturally, you sort of were told to get rid of all that stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, skateboarding or even...
You don't do that when you're growing up.
Like, or being into, like, whatever movies or TV shows you like sort of thing. Like, that wasn't... Like, being a nerd wasn't... Like, that was a beating. That wasn't a badge of honor. Like, now they rule the world. But, so, I was sort of just like, this is like pretty bleak, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was doing this zine, and it was sort of like just paying a little bit of cash, because I get like advertising and stuff. And then I got forced to go for a job interview at Morty Alley Cash Converters, right? Which is like an hour drive pretty much. And my car was sort of an old like Holden Premier, like 1966. And so we could get to Melbourne and back and fine, but not every day. Do you know what I mean? Like it would, you know,
overheat or whatever.
Yeah, it would always be leaking stuff, and you know, I had to put a nail in this pipe thing so the brakes would work. It was just like sketchy, but it was a sick car, and it was before I got it. But so I tried to flub the interview, but I just wasn't that good at. Like I guess I had too much. I was trying to like not be a kook but not get hired sort of thing. Like I was sort of like, I remember I was driving up with my friends. I'm like, oh, should I just like pick my nose? Like, how do I? But I sort of had too much like self-respect. But I was getting trapped into this situation where like I was in the cash converters and just like going, yeah, this is not a positive environment. Like it's people don't. Like, happy people don't come into cash converters.
Because back then, cash converters was proper. It was like crime converters.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Now it's a little bit like there's a few more checks and balances. But back then, it was proper just a big brand crime convert.
So I'm like, I get in the car and I'm driving home and I'm just like, oh, I think like I'm going to get stuck into this job. Well, I don't know what to, like, I'm stuck. Like, because, you know. And then I drive into Frankston, and whenever you go through Frankston, you're always dropped into Peninsula Surf Centre to say hey to Grayson, to Mark Grayson, like, and see what the new decks are and stuff. And skateboarding then is like, you know, it's in that sort of Plan B, you know, like world era, really small. Like it's sort of
early 90s.
Yeah, I guess. Oh no, it would have been later. It's like 97.
Oh, that late? Okay.
Yeah, so it's getting a bit. Yeah, it's a bit past that Plan B era, but it's sort of. It's still like it's early Globe shoes. Mm-hmm. Like there was before they had pro model shoes and all that sort of stuff. I'm just thinking of what was in the shop at the time. So I go in there and go to Grayson like, oh man, this is so whack. I'm going to have to get this job and stuff. And he goes, do you want to work here? And I'm like, what? And I thought at first he was just like hanging shit on me. Like, because it just sounded too breathtaking a concept. And he goes, yeah, we're opening a big surf shop across the road. Like, you know that how they had, like where the PSC was that you used to come in and see me. Yeah. So next to that was a big Peninsula Surf that they were opening. So, but we've still got 8 months lease on this shop. So we just need someone to watch the shop. Like, and I'm like, oh, sick. But it was the shop where all the skateboards were.
Right. So all the surf goes over there. Skateboard stays there.
I remember the concept they told me was like, we're going to leave some surf stuff here for the customers that have come all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know why. I just started rambling, just like, oh no, I think that's a bad idea. I think... This
is the guy with no job and everything, just telling them how to do stuff.
Yeah. But that's just like, it's an ongoing pattern. I was like, let's get rid of, like stuff the dude that doesn't want to go to the new shop, he'll work out where it is. Let's get all the boogie boards, get everything out, and we'll make it all skate, and we'll be the only skate shop in Australia. Because there was nothing, like there was every other shop had something else, whether it's like inline skates or surfboards.
Because by then all of the cheap skates and snake pits and stuff were
they were all gone. Memory. Yeah. And there was like the shops would have been like Yogi's,
which it was a mix.
Evolve in the city, which like had all the rollerblade stuff.
Yep.
But they get in some sick stuff.
What was it, SMC at the time?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was SMC then it turned into Evolve. Yeah. What other shops would it? Maybe not even. Maybe like Ballistics. That would have been in the mix then.
Yeah, Ringwood.
So I was like, oh, we can do it all skate, and they were so busy like making this new shop, which was sort of it was when surf shops began to like really expand into those beautiful sort of like showrooms sort of thing.
Yeah, like after the sort of Rip Curl and stuff built their brand.
Yeah. Like the ones where you're like, does anyone buy a surfboard from here? I don't know, but they buy a lot of sweaters. So they sort of were too busy or whatever, and so I was just left alone. So I was just like, fucking sick. So I just started like ring distributors and like, what posters do you have and what's this, that, and just decking it out, because I was like, oh, this is it. This is like, I am set. I could do this forever. Like, this is so fun. And yeah, just to have that opportunity, I was just I was just so ravenous that I just started like doing. So they come in, they're like, "Oh, you've done all this," and I'm like, yeah, and I'm talking to this guy, and we're going to get this. Like, I remember finding out about 4-Star, like the clothing company, Out a Girl, and ringing like Bruce at Globe and going, "There's this new brand girl doing 4-Star, and we want it. Like, when can we get it?" Like, and it was just that sort of, I don't know, just unbridled enthusiasm that sort of just built. And then by the time the lease was up there, they were like, "Oh, let's design, you can have the shop next door," because they were going to just put it at the back. But then we got the separate shop that, you know.
So you'd built it to a point where, as a skate shop, it was doing enough as a skate shop.
But it was still like before I got there, it was still like a sick, like like that was always, like everyone knew PSC and everyone knew Grayson and like, but then I sort of like gave it that sort of like youthful boost. Did you ever have
wars with Trigger Brothers and stuff?
Yeah, it was so sick.
Like Shane Carter and stuff.
Shane and Scotty. I sort of think back about all that because I had actual dinner with Scotty in LA not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like raving. Like, I just love old stories and stuff, and I was like, what do you get? I was in Trigger Brothers the other day actually, because they've never moved. You can still find traces of old
stuff,
like old dealer stickers on the window and stuff. But yeah, they were sort of, it was, I don't know, but it was even like in your day, like there was Snake Pit in Motion. It was like, when you look back at it, it was like so trivial, but it was sort of sick. Like that we were just so into it. It was like, like, who do you get 30% off? Like, do you know what I mean? It was so, but it sort of created this little sort of, hopefully, sometimes it wasn't friendly rivalry. With us it was, but it was sort of, it was sort of weird because we're all so immature. Yeah. And it was such like this overlying culture in skateboarding where the best skater got to be the biggest dick. Almost sort of thing. Like, definitely Paran, like...
Well, there was a couple of people that carried that through, but in that kind of a sense, it was always there. There was always that ego that was with that person who was the best skater.
But then that's what you would adopt. Like, I was just like doctor impression. Like, just sucking everything up. So it was sort of like I sort of... That was the thing. Like, it was sort of, you sort of dicked on someone. It was such a weird...
There was that, at that point though, you had to know that you were the best to act like that, I think, though. Because there were people that were good skaters who weren't dicks, but there was also an era where everyone wanted to be the dick, and it didn't matter if they were good, bad or not. There was just this era where, and it was around about that mid-90s, where everyone was just...
But that was the marketing.
Ego was up front.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
it was,
That was like Steve Rocco sort of worked out this way of like, if I just expose all these guys, you know, I remember reading an interview, like an ad, and it's like, all wheels are made in the same factory, so just buy ours. And just like going, it's telling it how it is. Like, this guy's the king. But yeah, like in Big Brother and that, it was such a, like, it was like the marketing was quite negative, and there was like ads attacking, and so that sort of fed off like around the world, and all that like focusing boards, pretending like, you know, trying a trick and then go, like you make, you know, pretending you could make it every time. It was all this.
Focusing boards was a marketing tool. It's like when they show someone putting toothpaste on a toothbrush, they put it all the way on and chuck it right up, so you go through your toothpaste quicker. It's the same with focusing a skateboard. Otherwise, your board would have lasted too long. You don't buy as many. So
I don't know about that. It's an interesting conspiracy theory.
Let's get into the conspiracy stuff.
I know a couple. But yeah, it was sort of, I don't know, there was that sort of, I think during that real Paran Snake Pit era, that was the height of skate park tensions, as to my memory. There's a pic, I don't know if you can grab it, of the one of Renton and Tuss at Paran.
Oh yeah.
Which sort of symbolises, it's so funny because they're snaking each other on the ramp, and sort of like two like bulls or deer airing into each other. But look,
and neither of them at that point neither of them have taken their feet off the board. They're both still wanting to land that.
And it was sort of like, this was, I remember it very vividly. It wasn't like an accident. It was sort of like, it was like Thrash in the Joust.
Yeah,
they dropped in to do it, but and it looks like, oh, what an intense snake session. There's no one there. Look, there's not a person at Paran.
Oh, they're doing it just for themselves.
Yeah. So it's not as though there's 40 people on the platform ready to go.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty classic one.
Yeah. I think Tony Hallam talks a few stories about that sort of stuff when there was a lot more rivalry going on. But again, that was probably mid-90s when that stuff was happening. That was that would have been a sort of, yeah.
Yeah, that one would have been... That would have been like 91.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Tuss has got like those...
Oh, the Vision Street.
The DV8
yeah.
streetwears, and that's when he was like a little H Street kid.
Yep.
And then Renton was like Primate. So it would have been about... And I just remember when I was taking photos a lot at Paran, I was in high school. And like... Actually, this is one of the things I brought. And then I'd get photos published in Perfect Transition.
Yeah, put the... try to squeeze the fold out of that a little bit. So we had discussions the other day with Dave Ross about his involvement with Perfect Transition and POS, and Steele actually took this cover photo that is shown on there. And when was that from? That was pretty early on.
Yes, that was like... That's 80s. That's Andy Holman, who is like if you know, like if late 80s skating on the peninsula, just like, one of those... I don't know, like you just hear stories. Like they were so good, but sort of didn't have the exposure out of... Like I saw him ollie the spine at Mornington, 6 foot spine, barefoot. It was just insane. But yeah, so I used to send photos into that. And I remember being at school and just like, look, you can buy a magazine in the newsagents and I've got skate photos in it. It was so sick. But it used to drive me insane how they make... Like the magazine was so ramshackle. Yeah. So I used to get like tons of photos published in it. I actually had a sick photo of you published in it of this comp in Richmond, Rage Red Alcohol.
Oh yeah.
And you're doing like off the jump ramp, the board slide
on the bin,
on the dumpster in a helmet. Like we all padded up on the street course. And
was that your photo?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was someone else who took that. No, that's so cool that it...
Yeah, and that was like I remember you making that in the comp, in your run, and it's like, okay, that is unquestionably here's one. Like, it was like the McTwist, like the board slide the side of the bin, it was like done.
Yeah. And I only just tried that in that run. Like, I literally said, let's push that there and do that, and then move the ramp over because I want to do an air off it, and... I remember I don't think there must have been categories because I got third place in something, and I remember getting a check for $25 and going, am I pro now? Am I allowed to cash this? Like I sort of didn't know how it worked, and I also took it very seriously because I'm such a dork. Like, so I'm like, do I lose my amateur status? Who do I tell this to? Do I have to be on a register?
So that day, right, was the day that Tony Roberts,
that's who I thought took the photo, but...
Yeah, so he rocked up, the guy that made Speed Freaks and...
Wheels of Fire.
No, it wasn't Wheels of Fire. It was Speed Freaks, and then it was the wheel... He made the wheel videos.
Yeah, I thought it was Wheels of Fire, but...
No, Wheels of Fire...
It made it feel like there was a lot was because it was all new, like a local brand, wow. You know, a local skate brand. That was the thing that was quite eye-opening. It wasn't just the local brand, it was a local skate brand because it's such a niche.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And the so it was like Blank and like Boom, and then to Exian, and then like you had Demo King, and Boz had Wildcard.
That's right.
And that was like even like
and you had?
Oh, I didn't at the time.
No,
I had nothing.
But he grew into.
Yeah, I grew into. But so it was like that whole thing was so sick, and just having like demos and having pros, like it was just a dream. Like it was so...
And you're hooking up with all the distributors and things at the time, and so you're, in terms of industry, you're right in with talking to all the right sort of people all the time.
Yeah. And I was just like, I remember like John Hurren, the guy that still distributes PAL.
Yeah.
I used to talk to him for like an hour every week. Like we'd do the order because you wouldn't email. Like now you just go on a website or whatever and you do it. But we'd go through and we'd just like gas bag. And I just like love going into like Globe or Hardcore and just going. They had so many little and just go, hey, what are you guys doing? Like I don't know. I was just so into it, and I was a sponge for like trivia and information and gossip. But I also liked I liked math as well. So I liked all the doing all that budget and ordering things sort of suited. I don't know. I find numbers kind of soothing, and you can always trust numbers, Dean. Did you know that?
They're always true. Yeah.
So it sort of it suited me, and then the industry was sort of blowing up. So then, we opened that big PSC in the city, which is that's where Fast Times is now.
Yeah.
So that was and then PSC got me they rented a 2-story old retail shop in North Melbourne, and I lived on the top floor. So that's I was in Rosebud, and my parents out in the bungalow at my parents' house, and then they're like, "Oh, if you come, we're going to open this shop. We'll get you an apartment."
Where was that?
In North Melbourne on Errol Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was sort of
I never remember it there, but
yeah, it was.
Was it like an outlet style?
Yeah, so it was called PSC Surplus Supply or something.
Okay.
And so that was sort of our warehouse. But then I had an apartment upstairs. And so I'm you could walk into the city, and it was on. It was ridiculous. It was too much fun.
Yeah.
It was so good. And we
You're
just
only
have these
3 blocks away from where Adam Davis did that sick skate trick.
Yeah. And I remember we'd have crazy parties. I remember I hired a spa and put it in the warehouse, and we had to take things off it to fit it in. So we had this spa party, and it was just, we just found some really good ways to have fun. But the actual running of the shop and organising demos and stuff, it was just I really loved it, and I just really appreciated having the chance to do it and sort of do it the way because I was always even a little kid at the demo. I remember at that Tony Hawk demo at Paran going, I don't know about this MC. I reckon.
Who was it?
I have no idea, but he was just
would have been Brett, the guy, the New Zealand guy, wasn't it? Brett. Ahaka?
I don't know, but that demo's on YouTube.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You might
sick.
see me in the background. I know there was footage somewhere that showed us skating up the street between the demo and the public domain launch.
Oh, okay.
So, but
you can see Dom and Ebo in it, and Chris Payne and stuff.
Yep.
And then afterwards, they show the sesh just for a few minutes in the bowl after the demo.
That was mayhem. Yeah.
Yeah, the energy's insane. When I found it, I was just oh my god.
Yeah. Hey, just on Ebo as well, recently I bumped into his uncle, and I want to just put a shout out to Steve Ebbage, who apparently isn't doing so well these days, but hey man, if you're out there, heads up, because you've certainly got a place in a lot of people's hearts from the back in the days, and reach out.
I loved Ebo.
Yeah.
He used to come stay, because I used to have a lot of people staying at my house, because it was an easy 15 minutes from Mornington, so I'd just go stay at people's houses to go skate at Paran, and then Ebo and Dom would stay at and then we'd street. It was so weird to have them skate on my spots around Rosebud, and to see what they could do on it, so to work out the level sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of just I've got to learn that once they leave and stuff, and he was. I loved his style and his sort of affiliation with Gons, and it was very. I'd always what's he like? What do you talk about? How often does he send you stickers? Just absolute
dumb questions. But that's what we were like back in the day.
Back in the day.
And still.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned about the photography stuff, so one of those photos being the cover of this one, but you've done a lot of photography that has made it into magazines and things like that. How did you get into the sort of photography side of it as well?
I think just trying to find ways to be a part of it, of skateboarding. So it was take photos of your friends, go you go to the demo, you got something to do at the demo, that's sort of, I don't know, just to be a part of it. But I'm pretty good at the framing and the lining up and the timing, but all the technical stuff with exposures and there's I've got all the tons of all these frame photos in the shop in the city, and people say, "Oh, did you take all these?" And I said, "Oh, all the ones out of focus are mine." And then the other ones, like Mapstone, probably took or something. But yeah, I couldn't. But they're sort of cool photo. I like them because they are sort of
rustic.
They're taken out of enthusiasm rather than professionalism, sort of thing. But
how do you split your back then? How would you split your time between going, okay, today I'm going to go and take photos, or would you just always go for a session and skate a bit and then just grab the camera out and?
Pretty much. I remember, like, I'd go skate. Like, normally if I'd go to Paran, like, I wasn't really skating the ramp. I was more skating the bowl, and so we just skate the bowl and try all the tricks and stuff. And then when the vert started pumping, like, I'd go get my camera and go take some photos of, like, like I remember, like, seeing Ban This whenever that came out, and Tony Hawk does the Stale Fish 540 in that, and then the next weekend going to Paran, and as I skate up, Dom's almost making them. So that was like one of the big photos they ran was Dom doing like a Stale 540, like probably days after finding out they were possible. He went out and learned them.
He was that good at it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was the sick thing, was like the vert skaters were so easy to take photos of and picturesque sort of thing. So it was sort of easy, like, do you know what I mean? Like that all, they're just crushing it, and they were also competitive.
Did you used to go out street skating often and do, like, was it, you weren't really a big stair and rail kind of guy, you were more of a flat ground, ledgy kind of? Yeah,
I sort of, like, after, like 6 or 7 stairs, I was like I was pretty cautious sort of thing, but like did rails and, but not big ones. It was sort of more your art centre style rails and
4 or 5 stair sort of,
rather than like big sort of grinds and stuff like that. But it was sort of more into that sort of, I guess, like, for me, the pinnacle, was like the EMB style of skating, and then sort of getting into all that switch stuff, which was pretty hard. And I always say full credit to anyone that started with nose guards and ended with nollie flips, because that's a big transition in skateboarding.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And it wasn't that far apart. But
So you spent a bit of time at like Flatlands and stuff like that?
No, I sort of would skate just down on the peninsula. So I'd go to Flatlands and stuff, but it was sort of like, I don't know, there's too many things going on there, sort of, like with all the different subgroups of people, like all the politics and stuff.
Yeah.
It was sort of just a bit much for me.
And you were pretty flat out running a shop down the peninsula at the time, so.
Yeah, well, I think Flatlands was actually before. I think by the time PSC was going, it would have been Sale Yards. But I just remember going to Flatlands, and it was sort of like, I skated there a few times. There was nothing to skate there at all. So, like, do you know what I mean? Like, except to do flips over the benches or whatever. So, I was sort of like, that wasn't too much. But I'd go to the demo. They'd have, like, those sick demos there with, like, Kareem and Costa
Chris
and stuff.
Markovich,
So they were, they were pretty sick. But, I never would have, I would have skated there, like, 10 times maybe.
Yeah.
But, like, we'd go up to St Kilda Road, but sort of just do our own mission.
Yeah.
Like, so me and some friends would just drive up, and we knew, you'd go skate Long 3, and you'd sort of avoid other people, sort of, because in that sort of really, when no one was skating, I don't know, it wasn't, like in the 80s you saw another skater, and it's just like, hey, how about we be best friends now forever?
Yeah.
Like, but down there it was sort of, like, in that sort of 90s quiet time, it was a bit much, oh, what's this about? Like, are you doing the cool one? So we just go there and sort of skate and just do our own thing, and my skate this guy, actually 2 Michaels, and they were both pretty good. So we had a sort of a good level of skating, and it was like there was no, like, it was just friends, like just being happy for each other sort of thing. And I remember actually during that one of those days we went up, and nose blunts had come out. So I wanted to learn them on the bowl because it seemed like a good place to learn it. And I remember, like, sort of I'd made one, and then I went to do another one and bailed. And I think Eddie Martin had just gotten there, and he just rolls in and does one right, like I had to get out of the way, and I was sort of just like, oh, that's the vibe. Like, do you know what I mean?
Eddie Martin wouldn't have been long over from Adelaide at that time, I reckon. So
Yeah, he would have been there for a little bit because when he came over, he was like, and like I catch up with him, like you know, anything that happens before like the last 3 years, I'm just like whatever, like. But you know, we're all just dumb kids. But I think he was like a real big street skater in Adelaide, and then came to Melbourne, and this is so weird. Kind of kept secret that he was a street skater and just skated vert because street skaters were like so. It was at that time when
real clicky and
people would you know street F word sort of thing like. So yeah, and he sort of kept secret that he was like this closet amazing street skater, and then when vert died, then he went full. Back to full street. World Industries and street skating. But I remember him doing that nose blunt and sort of going, oh yeah, this isn't that fun. He did it really well though, I do have to say. So, to his credit.
Before we move out of the 80s era a little bit, have we got some other photos that we want to slide through and have a look at?
Sure.
Some of the photos? Because some of these photos you've taken, and there's one or two of yourself in some of these photos as well, but there can be some talking points out of those as well.
Oh, this is...
Well, that's 90s though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's... that would be 98 or 9, and that was a demo I hijacked from Surf Dive and Ski.
That's on the peninsula?
Yeah, that's at Frankston. That's where that's before the metal ramps got put, you know, where the Frankston Metal Park was.
Yeah.
One of the greatest skate parks ever known to man. But
of which there's actually recently I saw a video on, maybe it was YouTube or something, of that comp, and Renton was doing a
oh yeah, that's on the Shore YouTube.
Sure, yeah.
So that's all my footage. I've sort of found all these old tapes.
That was at the one with the steel ramps.
Yeah. Great days.
Yeah.
So that one was
oh, this is the ones. Look at this.
Yeah, so that's Lee Ralph from it's the only bad thing about that photo is there's no one else in it. Like it's so solitary, but around us is like 5,000 people. Yeah. Which is, it's a pretty good photo for someone in a crowd of that many people and that's on one of those like 110 format films. It used to be like a cartridge. My mum would lend it to me to take to the city to take photos.
The rad thing about that too, that snake in the background on the wall, that was actually the highest air measurer.
Yeah, but it wasn't
put that up.
The feet were too close together.
No, but that's how you get a good 10-foot air.
Okay, because I remember like going...
Don't give away the magic.
But I remember when they put it up and just like going, holy shit, Stephen Hill's 9 foot tall. Like.
They're the American feet. It's like the American park bench, the school benches they have there. They're all like this tall.
So Harry goes to like an elementary school with like those benches.
Just Harry, for those who don't know, Harry is his son. He's a 5-year-old.
But yeah, so he sits and has lunch, and I'm just like I'll come pick him up, and he's waiting on those park benches. I'm like, what I wouldn't have given to Sesh one of those back in the day.
Look as though I'm doing some big tricks. We still got a few more of those photos there, Aaron. Here we go with some technical specialties. Roll on through.
Oh, so there's Cab
with his nice backside.
So that's Mark Grayson, my hero and mentor, and that's at the Mount Eliza ramp, Peasley's.
And he's not even running rails at that time.
Yeah, I know, that was pretty hardcore of him back then.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Doesn't it get any better than that? Christian judo air.
Yeah. Oh, so this is...
That's Treomani.
No, that's Joel Dawson.
Oh, really, Joel?
Yeah, so he was like a ripper another one of those dudes I was talking about where... like on the local level, were just unbelievable. You know, you hear stories as like, oh, my mate ollied up a 6 stair, and you're like, I didn't. But like, this dude was a freak. Like,
he
amazing
ripped
street
on the ramp as well.
On the mini ramp was like, I remember him learning backside sugar canes, and the first one he made on that big Mornington mini, just grinding a meter and just like going, like it was so. Yeah.
He was the best on that mini.
Good.
On that,
and every trick, giant grabs, like speed lines and stuff.
Yeah.
He might still skate. I used to see him around at like during the Frankston Park days. He'd come down and still like have a bash sort of thing. Awesome. But man, he was like he would have been. I would say Andy Holman, the guy. He was like the Peninsula's Gons, and he was the Peninsula's Danny Way. Oh, look at that! What a vibe! So this is the car park where Poz ran into the pole. It's just behind us, the curved.
Is there a little sort of bank launch that you're coming off there? Or
So you see behind my knee in that hurricane.
Yeah.
See how the curb comes out?
Yeah.
So that's where and so behind me is a pole that he ran into. So I think Kennedy took these photos. So this was sort of about 90. But look at that, just decked out. I always like Quicksilver. It was the most...
those pants are something to talk about.
Yeah, right. What about those Converse weapons? Big puffy...
Have you got... did you have little things in your hair there, colours? Little...
could be.
Cornrows.
No,
not
like
cornrows.
tips,
yeah. Or it's just sun bleached.
No, I think there was definitely... I am guilty. So this is me...
Look at the one on the ground. How he's going like this.
So this is grade 6 skate day at Rosebud Primary School or something.
You had a skate day at school?
Yeah.
Holy crap. We really laid down the foundations for you guys to have a life.
Yeah, right.
Because we never got this sort of stuff.
But how's this right? We had at high school we had a skate day, right? The same day as that Paran demo.
Oh no!
So none of the
skaters.
So me and Kennedy are like the two, real skate rats at the school.
Weren't even
not
there.
Airballed it. That's at Rosebud Plaza. That's on one of those Gons. Remember the one with the faces?
Yes,
and
two faces.
And it was like the first board you could decide where your trucks went. It had two sets of trucks.
The holes, yeah.
And I think it was white gull wings and those SS radial.
Oh yeah, with the
stick wheels with the little
steel inners.
Yeah.
Which were a vert thing.
Okay, so this is my backyard quarter pipe.
Is that an Alva?
Yeah, an Alva blank. Sometimes blanks would hit the Australian market.
Yeah.
I've got one Borgie rail, which those rails were insane. The ones that you
just for the backside. Yeah. Oh yeah, you put the T things in and
yeah. And then when I did the sticker wall, which I guess we'll talk about later on in the shop.
We will, yeah.
I hit up Tony Hallam because I really wanted remember the stickers that when you got a delivery from Hardcore, they'd have like the little heart logo stuck on it, but it was like a paper sticker, and so they'd come to the surf shop at Rye, and if they were stuck on the sticky tape, it was like, this is going to be easy money, because all the Veriflex guys like Hallam and the Hills and like Hugh McKay, they would run the packing stickers on that. So I just thought it was sick because it was like a sticker you couldn't.
It wasn't a public sticker.
This has just been me all my life. Like, so I've got a few of those stickers on there. But yeah, that was a quarter pipe my brother built in the backyard that I would skate just constantly. It was pretty sick. So this ad, this is 8 Ball, and this was a company that sort of came out sort of like when Plan B first started.
Yep.
But like I always would have loved a skateboard brand. Like I thought, that was just the ultimate dream when you were a kid to have your own skateboard brand. But it was just like you couldn't even get a skateboard made in Australia. It was just through where we were. And I remember seeing this. Bucky Lasek was on the cover doing a backside ollie at Tony Hawk's house on the little mini ramp hip thing. I've got a razor sharp memory about all this stuff. I was in Rosebud newsagents looking through, and this ad just filled up not even a whole page in Transworld. It was next to the credits or whatever, but they had 2 really good skaters. And then it clicked. I was like, you could start a clothing brand, and that would be a lot easier. And these kids, they don't have tons of they don't have a full page ad, because in all this that it was all Vision Streetwear or Limp. It was sort of a bit blown out and corporate, but this was sort of at Danny Way's, he's got crutches. It sort of told the truth about what was happening.
Yeah, and there's not even skateboarding shown in there at all. They're not skateboarding.
Hard. And so I don't know. I just remember seeing this and going, clothing company. Yeah, and I sort of could see how I could fit into skateboarding, because I was I was decent. I was local good, but city average.
Local 7, city 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
There's Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, that's at Mornington.
Sick.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
So yeah, I sort of and so that company was started by Damon Way and Ken Block. That then they started DC.
Yep.
And
DC is actually not. It's not Danny Collin, which people often think. It's Draws Clothing.
Yeah. I was actually talking to the guy that designed that first logo that got cease and desist the other day from Champion. I find all these weird, just all these people I just love and just like track them down and go, oh, hey man, what's going on? I thought your stuff was really good. But yeah, so I see Damon Way at these, because I'm like, if there's an art show or a premiere or something, some sort of skate event in the LA area, I'm like, I'm going, because I just get to have
you're going to meet these people.
Yeah. And so I was telling him about how it was just such a thing of like, oh, there's a window for me I could squeeze in. Because I was just like, yeah, I was just saying, I just had no interest in growing up. And I think what skateboarding did for all of us was just show that sort of the mundane life can be interesting. Like, so this like sort of like crappy town or this industrial area, you know, behind the supermarket, like we can make it like the best fun. And like, I sort of think like skateboarding as a whole has this sort of earned arrogance of like, we can make anything fun. Like, do you know what I mean? You can take us anywhere and we can like
reinterpret something.
Yeah. And that's sort of why it attracts so many different, and it's also a cheat code, skateboarding, to finding out about everything that's cool. Yeah. Like as far as like sneakers and music and art, and like it's like I wouldn't have found out about like what like cultures are you finding out at the cricket club? Like do you know what I mean? And so
skateboarding's introduced us to music and like I said, fashion and art, all of those things that through skateboarding there are skaters who have expressed themselves in those areas, and you've then opened up to those areas that you wouldn't have otherwise. And again, if it was the footy club, cricket club or whatever, the traditionals, they just go and play footy or go and do cricket.
But like we knew about everything before it blew up. Like whether it's like, you know, like Green Day, like, do you know what I mean? Green Day had, before they were signed to a mate, they had a song on Unquestionable, and like the Beastie Boys and like Prime, like all those, like Bad Religion, all those, like we sort of got to find out about it. And then like stuff like Jackass and like Spike Jones, like all this stuff that's like hailed by the mainstream. Like we knew about it, but it's also in a sea of this other stuff that's like as cool that maybe didn't blow up that maybe should have. There's my bedroom. There's a hardcore.
You able to go back a couple of shots, Aaron? A couple more.
That's Angus grinding the 6 foot.
This one here, is that Rent?
Yeah, that's Renton at Peasley's.
That's Renton, yeah.
And then there's down on the benches is Grayson and Dom.
Where is that at?
In Mount Eliza.
That's a backyard ramp?
Yeah, man. It was massive.
But a vert ramp.
Yeah, like a proper, like, as the legend goes, Chris Miller went there once just by himself and destroyed it. Like, but it was a proper, like, it was maybe like the best ramp in Australia at the time.
Whose ramp was it?
This family, the Peasleys, and they were like a Mount Eliza, you know, people aren't poor, and they had all this land, and I think they just built it and then just got into bongs.
So the kid was a skater?
I never saw him skate, ever.
Right.
And so
that was his way of getting friends?
No, I think he just got out of it. And like sometimes they'd come up and watch, but most of the time I was too naive. We'd give them money to skate. I think it was like $5 to skate for the day. And they just go buy weed and smoke it under. But I was such an idiot. Like I never knew what they were doing. But I didn't even think about it at the time. But it's so weird. This massive sort of mansion, and then we just had permission to jump over the back fence
and go skate.
And I don't even know if we even would. I think we'd go and knock and say, "Oh, we're just here to skate," and then we could just skate all day by ourselves. But there was this one night, right, where it was like Ellis, Gary Valentine, Chris Payne, Grayson,
all the heavies,
Pappas's, and it was just like this sesh, and it was just like, what a thing to watch. Yeah, like just at sunset, private ramp, and they were playing like skate, like add a trick and stuff, and we just stopped skating, and like we're just like, oh, what a treat. Yeah,
I used to love that. Go to Paran in the evening, and I'd always have a bit of a roll on the vert as well, but those guys were always there, and you would just sit back and watch and just take it in, because it was amazing to see them skate. So to have that, be able to watch them skate in a private ramp like that, especially a ramp as good as that, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and there's Angus Smith.
Man, he's so good.
He's a bit of an animal chin of Melbourne. That wall.
He was doing stunt work for a while. I don't know if he still is.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that grind is stunt work.
Yeah.
6 foot vert.
There's some footage of him at Vermont in a skate comp there, just ripping it. It was so
No way,
good.
really?
Yeah. Check out on YouTube. I'll send you the link. There's a guy who's put up a whole bunch of old Vermont footage. So
I
cool.
tell you what, there's just not enough footage of Paran.
There isn't. There's a lot more of the local stuff than Paran, yeah.
Yeah,
it's back in the day where cameras weren't as common.
Yeah, I know. Morning. There's barely any footage of Mornington.
Yeah,
like
or
Greg's got some,
there's almost no photos of Mornington either.
Yeah, it just was at a time when we just didn't it wasn't that. And then there wasn't the magazines to have like dudes always there. There's Dom. That was Ramp Right 4. So that was like the year before it was in Festival Hall.
Yep.
And then,
is that an artist that he's skating?
Nah, it's like the newer Tommy Guerrero. You know, it was like it was the flame graphic but done like a metal fence.
Yeah, more like that. Yeah, that sort of like a.
And then look at Ellis. Look at
so
Ellis
much
hating me as he skates past, and me just going, "You're the best, Ellis. Look at you and that Chris Miller." He and that like he had good out. I remember that like that. Remember those airwalks?
Yeah.
The ones everyone had those.
Man, it's so much.
So there's
power.
that's
Tony.
That's at the showgrounds when they do those demos. And I remember Renton and Jamie were doing the demos, so they got in free to the show, which I was pretty psyched about at the time. And there's Hawk at Mornington doing a melon to fakie. It's Kareem 180ing the Flatlands. There's Ryan Deneray, who was probably the best. I would say talent-wise and for his era, maybe for the era, like the best skateboarder of all time in Australia.
Yeah, I think you're not far wrong with that. That he was at that time then was beyond anyone else.
Well, that time when he was that's when he's on. I think he's got maybe like T-bones on that even.
That's old.
It's like a Vialli double kick. It was just like, and he was amazing. And he was like me, like we would just watch videos all night, and he would
just skate rats.
Yeah, and like we'd know like how many pushes. Like we had, like we'd go Damien Cabbager, 5 pushes, Ollie Impossible tail grab, pulls up short. Like we would memorize shit, and then like know all the specials when Hensley would skate past like Taco Bell, and we like 49-cent taco. Like we just say it. Like we had all these things, and we just like.
So he's full nerd.
But then he and like it's weird because I still eat. I think he like just went, he had enough skateboarding sort of thing. But he was just so far ahead. Like just before he stopped, he did like on a ledge about this high, like a Parliament, like a switch flip, switch front tail, which is like
still a trick that people do
10
today.
years ahead of its time and done perfect. He was magic.
Yeah. There's that one we saw earlier.
Bulls butting heads.
Yep.
There's Troy O'Mani, who was a hero of mine that adopted me and would let me stay at his house and would wake me up in the middle of the night to go do nefarious things near trains, and I'd be like, "What? I need sleep to skate in the morning. Like, got to get to Paran early."
Do you know if he's living in Australia again now, or is he?
I think he's still in San Diego.
Okay.
How's this? I was at Comic-Con, right, because I'm a dork, and he saw me post a photo. This is like maybe like 7 years ago or something. So he knew I was in San Diego, didn't message me or anything, just went to a bar, and he goes, "Steel, I knew you'd be at this one." And then we sort of just hung out for 6 hours. It was so sick. That's at Seaford Park during one of the, I think must have been a PSC comp, doing an ollie. That's me sitting. This is me literally thinking at this photo, I'm sitting next to Guy Mariano. Oh my God, what do I do? That's Guy Mariano.
How's that hair if he's at that time?
This was sick. This is the all-star gang at PSC Frankston. There's Teb, Dave Snow. There's half of Mapstone in the back.
Oh yeah.
Rat Boy, Ben Hoban, and then this was when Keenan.
Oh, Hoban, yeah.
And Stevie Williams were down for the chocolate tour, and it was a Saturday morning, and I think Keenan had missed his flight or something. He came later, so Stevie Williams got there early, and he wanted to get a CD. Like he wanted to buy some CDs. So I said, oh, well, there's a Sanity down the street. Let's go. And you know, there's that mall, that brick mall.
Yeah.
It goes down. There was a Toys R Us and there's a Sanity on the corner. So it's Saturday morning. It's packed with people, right? And I would never consider skating down there. I just, walk. Do you know what I mean? So he takes his board, and in all these people, with only me to appreciate, did like this 6-trick line that I was just like, fuck. I just watched a chocolate commercial, like backside nollie heel, then you just carve around people. And then we went into the shop, into the hip hop section. He goes, yo, Steel, you know DMX? And I'm like, no, I never. And he goes, you should get into him. And then I remember at the premiere that night going up to him, going, I bought that CD, it's really good. It was such a mark, and it was a good CD. Dog barking at the start. But I remember just going up to him, and in the time he'd left, I'd bought the CD, and then I had to drive up to Melbourne to go to the premiere and just listen to it as many times as possible. So,
I love how you did the green guide letters noise.
That's just the little boy inside me. Oh, this is a pretty sick photo. This might be my favourite skate photo of me. This is at the Venice Pit.
That's not there anymore, is it?
It's actually there, but it's under about 7 foot of sand.
Yeah.
So because it is a pit, what they did was they just filled it with sand to get rid of the piss smell.
So that was actually lower than the normal sand level anyway.
Yeah, so you can walk on the top. Like you can see the top of it when you're at Venice now, because they've got the big skate park.
Yep.
But so through PSC, they would send me to the trade show in America once a year.
I was about to ask the stuff about travel, and
so it was sort of like they did it, so I could see all the new stuff, but also like as sort of a present sort of thing. Because I did work like hard, and I would never like hit anyone up for like, oh yeah, I worked 60 hours this week. I was sort of just like, let's just get it done. Yep. Because I was sort of also like, if they had to pay me for all the work I was doing, it wouldn't get done.
The shop wouldn't exist.
Well, no, it would exist, but it wouldn't be how I wanted it. So it was sort of like half like, is this for me or for you? Like, so I would just like do like, I just gave myself to it, and it was so fun. And
then they'd give you little bits like
this. So this was I just met these kids that had WAG school for the day, and because it's America, they had a car. So I was here skating by myself because I wanted to go in the morning because I was like scared of getting mugged and stuff, because it's gnarly there, like it was at that time. And that was all little corridors, so you could just walk around and there could just be someone there, like, and it stunk. Like it was like you didn't want to fall over, and like there was one corner that just through a decade of like hardcore junkie piss was like the smell there was incredible. But look, I've just decked out with I got the 4-star football jersey all meshed out, and the it was just like I was ready for some athletic endeavors. But that was sick. Like to go to the that's Rodney Mullen in the shop with Mike York, and look at that shoe wall, look at those DCs, bloody hell.
It's a serious
you make a fortune. Oh, so this is so before I was at PSC, I was doing the punk zine, and then so this is on the Blink when they first toured. This is Tom, very young. I actually saw them play recently, like to 40,000 people in LA, and it was just like, I don't know, just to see people that like had something and then just like it's like you couldn't get any better than this. Like you reached the zenith, like whether like you thought every decision they made was right or not, but it was like, man, you really, in skate, like you see like Shane, and just like, man, you really, you went to the top. Like that's amazing.
Awesome. So you did get a chance to travel for skateboarding, so to speak.
Yeah, it was more for I guess industry stuff, but then we'd go skate at, like it was when the Van skate park was open, and we'd go there, and Grayson would come out sometimes, and we'd just hoon around and go to like the ASR trade show. So this would have been, I think I went 99 and 2000 maybe, but it was during the shoe boom. So they had so much money to burn on promotion. So like you know, like Osiris would have like a 3-story trade shoe boot. Like it was such a big dick contest.
Yeah.
And there was so much money because there was all the sneaker money was staying in skateboarding.
Yeah.
So
some of the numbers I've heard with sneakers and the guys that were getting paid, it's just unbelievable. And they're people that they were okay skaters, but I didn't expect that they should be getting that sort of money.
Yeah, well, sort of now it's because it's so centralized around a few brands. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Chad Knight had a model. Like, no diss against Chad Knight, but like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now he'd be like that equivalent is like lucky to be on Flow because there's so few opportunities because the brands just sort of focus on, you know, the ones they have to. But going into ASR for the first time, remember in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and they go to the end of the tunnel and it gets really small. Then he opens the gate and there's like the grass, and then they all run in and start eating shit. I remember going down the escalator and it was like Rick Howard walked past or something. I was just like, fuck. But it was just like every brand had a booth, and so it was so heaven. And they'd all talk like
everyone was talking. Yeah,
everyone was like happy to talk to you. And
didn't matter who you were, they would talk to you. Yeah.
Well, it sort of helped because I was sort of like, I don't know, PSC had a sort of good name, so you like. Yeah, if they knew you were from a shop and it was sort of, they would be like very nice. And I'd sort of hang out with like Noel and
Noel Forsyth.
Yeah, when I say hang out, tag along. Pick me up, please.
Because at the time Noel was quite high up in the Globe side of the
and Bruce would come out fairly, and this guy Ivan Meneman, who he was like New Zealand. He ran all the skate stuff, so he would come out. He's like a big wig at Red Bull now or something. But like we'd drive and go to Girl and go to Birdhouse. I'm just like we were getting photos with like the hookups van. It was just after that, like, you know, like, so you see the hookups van.
The van, the one that went down the stairs.
Yeah. And going to Girl, and it was just like it was so good, and I was there to like just appreciate every second of it.
That is awesome.
Sort of go into all the chocolate factories, but ASR back then was like, it was heaven. It was just.
So, we've talked a little bit about your I suppose industry kind of networking and stuff like that, and I don't know if we really explained it, but you after all of that stuff with PSC and everything, you ended up creating your own clothing brand, Spire.
Yeah, so I was doing PSC, and then like they really gave me a really good run, and I sort of was like, that was my uni. Like I learned like every bit of it, how you should deal with people and how the industry works. Not in a nefarious way, but just like pre-books, markups, like when to discount things and how to deal with sales reps, and Grayson really just taught me everything, so yeah, it was a real sort of university experience, but then it sort of got to a bit where, you know, it gotten pretty big and I had other ideas, and I was sort of getting frustrated, not through Mark, but the other, his the sort of senior partners in it, who, you know, all really great guys, but I was sort of giving them ideas for them that I would think make them more money or make their shops better, and it was sort of like, it was like met with resistance, and I found that really frustrating. And I'm also like an idiot, so like I'm 23 or 24 or something, so I wasn't the best at, or I don't know many people that are, but handling differences of opinion and stuff,
especially at that age, and they've probably seen the negative side of some of those things and thought, we don't want to go down that, but you're looking at it only from the positive because you're not experienced it. So.
And also when I with the guys that work within my business, it's like I try to remember that if I explain a bit of them about my point of view, then they'll understand, I want to explain why maybe we're not going to do this or something, whereas I didn't have they would never give me a reason.
They just say do this without understanding.
Well, just no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Sort of without sort of hearing it out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like overall, the experience was like just the best. Like just like one of those things that like just changed. Like I would have been working at fucking cash converters, man.
Yeah.
Like so, like. What's that? Where's the future there? I'm the king of the cash converters in the end. Like, so
the Mornington cash converter, not all of them.
Yeah, man. Like that alternate future, that sliding doors, it's horrific.
Yeah.
It's so.
Just a quick one before we move into that Spire stuff. PSC was that you were part of that transition of them moving into the city, and then.
Oh, so I got it up to like. We had Frankston, City, North Melbourne, High Point, and I think that was it for me. I don't remember doing another one after that.
And so then turning to Fast Times was the City and High Point of Fast Times. Was that, were you there when that?
Oh, no. That was way after me, yeah. Because then Globe bought it.
Yeah.
And then they tried to sort of flood it with too much Dark Star, so people just got over it. And then Grayson and Ted bought the Frankston one, and then they somehow got the City spot as well. Because I think like they Globe got it and they had big ideas for what they could do with it, but it was like
they were too insular with the brands.
Yeah, well, the best thing about it was it had all this stuff, and then if you're sort of force feeding like sort of. Brands like a Dark Star or something that kids aren't sort of grappling. They were at the time like want Baker or something.
Yeah. So that wasn't your era.
Nah.
You'd gone to develop your own brand.
Yeah.
At that time.
So I had this idea of like because I really loved like the clothing, like drawers and 4-star and even like non-skate stuff like Nautica and Polo and stuff. So I thought we could combine it all into like a brand, and then. I got introduced somehow to this guy Ken who had all this experience in manufacturing and wanted to start something.
So you were wholesaling brands already?
No. I was still a PSC.
Right.
So then I met this guy Ken and we sort of started talking about, gave him all my ideas and just about how just better quality clothing and a certain style sort of thing, like a bit more sort of refined and preppy, I guess. And then we just got an agreement and sort of became partners in this thing, and like we had Mapstone, we had a bunch of six skaters, and the clothing was like I stand by the clothing for it was dope, right? Like all polos and rugby, like all my sort of style of tossy sort of stuff. And then we did like the handrail comp at the Metro sort of thing. Which was really sick that Dustin won the first one.
It was like on one of the Thursday night.
Goo. Yeah. And that was sort of during the whole Metro era. The Goo, like that nightclub is the best.
Yeah.
I got like my current business partner I met there and my wife. So
I was going to ask where you met her and how all that came about, but we'll get to that later. So
I did go to Goo a fair bit, but I got my reward. It set me up for the rest of my life. But so we did Spire and
was Mike Carney working there at that time?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he sort of maybe towards the end wasn't there, but he was always a good source.
Speaking of which, did you know him from back on the Peninsula days?
Yeah, and like because all the Frankston dudes were like super cool. So it was like Dave Snow, Chris Middlebrook, Ed Kroll, this guy Peter Chang. That
Barter.
was just,
Barter, isn't it? We used to call him Barter because of the shoe.
Yes,
he did some trick at the shoe joint there.
Yeah. Like that guy was
Barter shoes.
He had just amazing frontside 360 ollies and stuff. So I'd skate with all those dudes, and they were sort of like halfway to the city, so they were just a bit cooler and a bit more street savvy than us. So so we did Spire for a fair few years, and it went pretty well. But then what happened was there was this big sneaker boom of all like Etnies and DCs and all that sort of stuff, and all these shops were like killing it because you could just order whatever and it would just sell. You get Etnies with a little pale blue E, you're killing it, you're selling it to all these girls. And then what happened was for the average dude that didn't skate, like they were all wearing DC and etnies and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then the fashion for that sort of punter person changed to more like a racing style of sneaker that was sort of big just after the
like a running racing kind of style.
I don't know, but like it was just more of, I can't remember what the brands, I think maybe even Goodyear did a sneaker or something.
Oh, wow, okay.
But it was this different type of, it went from skate sneakers to this weird...
This is more for that street
not for... Just for the dude going to the footy.
Yeah.
Like that sort of just, dudes at the pub, whatever. So like, where like Hype or whatever would have all DCs, and all of a sudden all that stuff was gone, and it was all these weird... like just nothing, sneakers from nothing. Like they didn't reflect any culture or anything, but they were massive, right? I wish I could remember the brands. But so then that was the new mainstream trend. So all these shops out in the suburbs, like out Glen Waverley and all that, they all went bust because they were stuck with all these sneakers. And their sort of like their business model completely changed. So then at the same time, DC got bought by Quicksilver and Element got bought by Billabong, and then Zoo York got bought by Echo. And so those companies like really had a giant push into that skate surf area in Australia. So like if you're like a surf shop and you're like, oh, we've got a little skate section, it's like, oh, we just do, we do Element because we get a special bonus or something if you carry both. And so as that contracted, we sort of just weren't left with that many shops that, like, whereas now there's just such a healthy array of like, either, chains or independent skate shops.
Yes.
Like I see the Instagrams all around. It's like, oh my God, like Cool and Gatter's got like this amazing shop or whatever. Like there's just all these great like independent retailers now. But at the time, and that was also before streetwear, like there was streetwear shops and stuff. So we sort of like, we just had to make the decision of like, there's nothing like, because compared to like the American brands, you had to design the clothing and then get it produced, then do...
Where were you getting it made?
Some in Melbourne, and then some like in factories like in Asia and stuff. But a lot of stuff got made like downstairs. Like we had cutting boards and stuff. And
that's cool. Yeah.
That
was the hardest thing I found with Demo King, was that I wanted it to be made here. And it was just price point, it couldn't be done.
Yeah, so we get it all. Originally, like I think everything was made here, maybe except for maybe hats or something. But yeah, it would all get cut downstairs. And it was when all panelled T-shirts, like, you put a mesh panel there and...
So this bit's mesh or whatever.
Yeah. So I used to just have a ball drawing these weird lines across, like... And it's like, make that. And then they'd make it, like, in days. It was sick. And whereas now it's all, like... See in a month and a half of the sample.
Yeah.
But, so so to generate all that was, like, so taxing. Like all the image and then the clothing and stuff, and then at the end of the day there's not that many shops we can actually sell it to. So then we got into like more distributing.
Did you have a team of like a designer, marketing, all graphic design, whatever? Did you have, or was that all Steel?
On the team. we'd like,
I know exactly how you feel, mate.
We'd have like some people do art for us before I knew how to learn to use Illustrator. So we got sort of someone, actually Woody, that started Sneaker Freaker, did all the original art sort of thing. And like, I'd just go in, I can do this, do that. And then I sort of worked out from like, sort of just how to do basic things in Illustrator off those sort of dissecting the files sort of thing. And, but yeah, it was super fun. And it was like, it was cool to have your own brand. Like it was just a dream come true to have, and sort of people liked it and stuff and have fond memories, and the handrail comps were really cool and stuff. But then we got into distribution. We did like Thrasher and Amateur. You do that in a Hollywood set, you got to buy everyone a slab or something like that.
I've had one beer.
All right, fair enough. And then we sort of got into streetwear, like that sort of thing.
But more as a distributor.
Yeah, just through happenstance. We're at this trade show in America, and I saw Tony Ferguson, who skated for Girl. And I'm like, oh, fuck, Tony Ferguson. And so I went up to him and go, like, are you Tony Ferguson? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I saw you skate at Melbourne, you know, in 94 or whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah, sick. And I'm like, God, you had this, it's like, I remember like what t-shirts they wear. It's so lame. But, and I said, oh, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, I'm involved with this brand A-Life. You know, I'm working on their sneakers for them. And I'd sort of heard of A-Life, like in some graffiti magazine or something. And so I met all these guys from New York that, you know, these legendary sort of graffiti writers that had started this brand, and Ferguson was working for them. So we started doing that just in a few, because the sneaker stores had started opening up. And then through that, we sort of, then they'd sort of go, oh, with our friend, you know, does this brand, do you want to do that? And so it just bounced around where we started picking up all these streetwear brands. And then actually, I think Mapstone put me in touch with like Keith Huffnagel. And so I started, you know, talking to him about, because Huff just had a shop in San Francisco then. And yeah, he's like, we sort of came to an agreement, and he goes, oh, okay, you can do it, but you can only sell it in one shop per state, because it was meant to be really limited. And then it sort of, you know, we got it so early, and then it got so big, like with the socks and stuff. And I remember it was, I don't know, in the end it was like, get more shops. Like it was, I think we had like 120 doors or something, which is a big turnaround from one shop per state. But Keith was, but that was just so sick to work with him. And he was so, like, he was such like a god of like skate, like, cause you know, everything he did was sort of untouchable for as far as style goes.
And pop, man, he had the biggest.
And he's like sponsors and just the way he dressed and stuff. But so like, it was like, oh, you're just a god. But he just like acted like he just like was your neighbor. Like he was so chill and just so down to earth, and had this weird sort of ironic humor. And yeah, so to like work with him, it was like, I don't know, like 8 years or something, and just see how his company grew and how he kept, like, he's just always the chillest dude in the room. And it was devastating when he, you know,
passed away.
Yeah, I wasn't, you know, like best friends with him or anything, but like he was like a hero that I got to like hang out with and work with. And yeah, but that was really cool. And we did like other brands like the Hundreds and stuff. And it was during this time when the streetwear brands were doing crazy like stunts and like events and stuff. I went to like this private party at Disneyland, which was just insane. And I went on the Star Wars ride like 14 times. Just out of my brain.
So there's a couple of little things you've just mentioned there. One is the States, and your connection with the States is quite deep, I suppose you would say, based on you're living there now. Now, is your wife originally from?
No, she's from Moonee Ponds.
She's from Moonee Ponds.
Yeah.
How did you both end up over in the States?
Well, we met at Goo.
As you said earlier on. Yeah.
And well, she was a model agent here. And she just always had a dream of like a bucket list thing of working overseas for a little bit. And so, yeah, she just went to work. She just went there and sort of just cold called agencies and just said, oh, hey, yeah, I can do this and I'm looking to move. And so she was going to move for maybe like a year, which seems really unrealistic in retrospect, but it was like 1 to 2 years. And yeah, I think she just did a 10-year anniversary or something. So then I moved there about 7 years ago, and then about 5 years ago.
So you were already married before she went overseas?
Yeah. And yeah, so we lived at like, but I'd have to go for trade shows and stuff, so I'd just stay there for the 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't need a visa, and so you could just do the tourist thing. And yeah, then I moved, and then had a little American.
Yeah, so he's American.
If you get him born in the country, they get to keep him.
How many guns does he own?
Huh?
How many guns does he own?
He doesn't own any. He's only allowed to have blasters. It's like a big. I've said to him, don't ask mum for guns. Ask for blasters. Like always, you gotta make sure it's in space. Like because yeah.
Which is the other connection that you mentioned about Star Wars, and you have quite a love for Star Wars. You're quite a movie buff in a lot of ways, not just Star Wars, but a lot of movies, and even the skate movies you're talking about, background specials on the window at 7-Eleven. You write into your movies, But Star Wars is one of the standouts for that.
Yeah, well, my youth was just like, it was Star Wars and skateboard. Like, that was it. Like, okay, this is me and Harrison Ford, which was... Oh,
look at the T-shirt. Have you seen him?
Oh, yeah, okay. So I'll fast forward to...
That's not Animal Chin.
Yeah, so I was just super into Star... Like, that was, like, my earliest memory. And like, you know, I like Luke Skywalker and Tony Hawk. Like, do you know what I mean? They were just my, like, golden, blonde-haired gods sort of thing. And so I always had this huge affinity and just, like the similar to skateboarding. It just inspired me and helped me escape. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Luke Skywalker on Tatooine wanting to go do fun stuff. Like, it's a bit like living in Rosebud. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what I get to Paran and whatever. So when podcasting, I did stand up for about 12 years, which was super fun. But that was when podcasting was just starting. Like, I remember when I'd heard of it, and then Apple had an update and they added podcast to iTunes where you could, and I was just like, oh, so now I've worked out how I can, because I could never work out
how to find them. And
yeah, you needed some weird, I have no idea, but when they put it on iTunes, that sort of set the scene to change it up. And so when I was doing stand-up, I was listening to all these American podcasts, and they were talking about how it's a good way to, like, build an audience. So I was like, oh, I've got to start a podcast. And I love, like, the fact that you could just listen to people toss on about these minute subjects was like heaven. I was like, yes, I want, like, that whole like nanocasting thing, it really appealed to me. So I started a podcast called I Love Green Guide Letters,
which is actually really hilarious. If you get a chance, folks, go and check it out because there's some really funny stuff on there.
And the conceit of that is they're sadly not in there anymore. But in the Green Guide was the TV lift out in The Age on a Thursday, and they would have a letters page. And I used to just read the letters page to laugh at how annoyed people would, not just that I'd get annoyed about it, like, because you know when you're like, I'm going to complain about that, but you never do.
No, these people are willing enough to actually write
so these
it and
people
send it in.
had this thought that they don't like this weather presenter's dress, and they're going to write a letter and send it. Like, that's just commitment.
And what voice do they send it in?
In this one! So I just thought, that'd be a good... Because I sort of understood what made a good... Like, you need a good hook. Mm-hmm. And so the Green Guide Letters thing, it was either going to get a blank face, it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, or they would go, oh my God, those letters. Like, there was like a certain type of person that would read them as well.
Yeah.
And I actually got the idea because I was in the food court at Sydney, like Berkeley Square or something, and I was reading it, and I was reading this letter, and it was so bad, like inane, that I was looking around to see if anyone else was reading the same Green Guide. Like, so and then I was just like...
Do you think the editor of the Green Guide was taking the piss by publishing those?
Yeah.
Like,
but then when the podcast sort of got big, they would publish ones they knew would be funny.
Right.
And then they would publish
ones... They knew about the podcast, they sort of knew that...
Yeah, so then it became this really weird cycle. You. And then there was letters about the podcast in the letters.
Really?
Yeah, like...
Wow.
And then there was then someone else would write... Like, so they're complaining about the podcast now in the letters, and then I'm reading them. Like, it was so weird and meta. And put up my favorite things we did was we'd do once a year a show in my house, because the people that listen to podcasts, the hardcore fans, are just the best people. Like, they just... Because people are like, you got 60 people in your house? And I'm like, oh, these are the... Like these are the best people. There's the energy from that podcast energy. So this is like...
That was in your house?
Yeah, it's my apartment.
I've been to one or two of them, a couple more than two, but I've been to a couple of them in a public space.
Yeah.
Not in your house.
It's Will Anderson, Limo, and Justin Hamilton.
Justin Hamilton's down the bottom.
Yeah.
Limo in the middle.
And then, Will with the hat on. So, we used to just pack the house with people and have these bizarre podcasts. But it was, do the comedy festival and... Got to have... I actually did one in Mark Maron's garage with him, where he did the one with the president, which was pretty sick. I was actually, you went back to the screen then. I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, this is this podcast.
This is not your lounge room, yeah. There's not 60 people in here. No.
So that was going really well. We're doing live shows, and it was just the best. Like, it was just so much fun, which is a big thread through all this. It's just like
fun, yeah.
Yeah, just sniffing out fun. Like, once I worked out that you didn't have to do normal stuff, I was like, yeah, let's just not do normal stuff ever.
Yeah.
That is terrible. And so Star Wars got announced that it had been bought and there was going to be new movies, right? And I was like, I always loved when you were little and the film was about to come out and there'd be a special. Like Angela Bishop would host the special and there'd be interviews with people, and it's like, you know, they'd do specials like that on Saturday night, and the film came out that week.
Yeah.
And it was just a big promotional thing. And I was like, because I was at this sort of level of like awareness that like I'd be on, you know, like morning shows sometimes and stuff like that, doing hosting. But then, you know, I had friends that I was sort of like started with that were like, you know, had high, you know, like Tommy Little and stuff, and Nick Cody and Ronnie Chang. And I was like, and I say this like Tommy Little's like just one of the best. He's an all-time dude, but he doesn't know anything about Star Wars, right? And I was like,
Star Wars is life.
It is life. I was like, they're gonna have one of these specials when the film, this is like 3 years before a film's gonna come out, right? And I'm like, they're gonna have one of these specials, and some like half-known person is gonna host this special, and it's gonna be like...
So you're thinking 3 years in advance here.
Well, I was just looking for a gap, right? And I was like, and then they're gonna get someone like Tommy Little to bloody host it. He doesn't even want it, but he just gets all these sweet jobs. So it's just the same as him going to host some tennis thing or whatever. And I'm like, I need to like establish that like I'm the Star Wars guy. So when it all comes out, they've got someone with some media training that's also amped up about the you know, the films and stuff. And what just happened then? There we go.
Some dickhead just leant against the light bulb.
It's amazing how, yeah, you're here actively making the podcast worse.
Yeah.
And I assume that
I didn't
you're
realise
here
that
to do
your
the
ass had
opposite.
hands. How did you manage to turn a knob with your ass?
I've got great glutes.
Look
Okay.
at that. Jesus.
Yeah, so I had this paranoia, like nothing against him, like, but I was just sort of like, there's no way I'm not gonna get it, just no one's gonna know. But I was like, if I start a Star Wars podcast and sort of start doing that, well then I've got like this thing, there's gonna be a need.
Yeah. Here he is again.
Dude,
Stick it up your ass so your ass won't turn the knob.
You've done the 3 podcasts, like you've watched a YouTube video, you've gotten a phone call.
I was checking sound you guys.
Yeah, we're just here.
I know.
Now he's
You
going
did get me a beer though, so that was pretty
There's
sweet.
2. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, so I just started doing the podcast, and I sort of
podcast called Steel Wars.
Steel Wars, yeah. Or actually, it was originally called. What was it? It was such a bad name.
Steel Saunders loves Star Wars,
No, it
so
was,
here's a podcast for a job. Podcasting for a job.
Oh no, it was called "This Isn't the Podcast You're Looking For" or something like
Ah,
that.
okay, yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But like, after the first week of telling people about, like, I was just like, nah, I can't say that for the next 5 years. So I didn't want to put my name in it, but I was just like, it's just the best branding idea. Like, so I did it, and then I was a big fan of Mark Maron's podcast, and like his sort of in-depth interviews sort of things. So I was sort of like, if you found people that were into Star Wars, but maybe like are from different, like you know them from the news or they're in a band or something, and you talk to them about their love of Star Wars and how it sort of reflects out on their life. Because Star Wars is like a really interesting thing in the world where it's a bit of pop culture that relates to so many people. like from all walks of life and from all different beliefs or whatever.
Yeah, from way back in the late 70s all the way through, yeah.
And they're all looking at the same thing from a slightly different angle. So because it's so rich, so some people like it for like the fights, or some people, you know, I've interviewed a lady in, I'm just blanking on, from Ukraine, sorry. And, you know, she talked about how she shows a cartoon called Star Wars Rebels to her. She looks after an orphanage, and you know they hear bombs all the time, and so she shows them Star Wars Rebels to show how the heroes react and
how they deal with
like
that.
That's like heavy stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then then we talk to for the most trite of people that have got giant collections or something like that. But it was just super fun, and I sort of got to take sort of some of the energy and some of like the marketing from like skateboarding and comedy, and sort of adopt it to Star Wars and sort of do it in a different way that was sort of not so dry sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we do like live, pretty rowdy live shows, and we did they do the midnight premieres.
Yeah.
So we did a podcast after the premiere in a bar, like at 3 a.m. So everyone comes out, and then we all went in and did this big podcast. So it was just like ways to find like to do fun. But in doing that, I got to travel around the world and go to like conventions, and I ended up like getting little jobs from Disney that like.
Did you get more famous through that than what you did with your stand-up?
Oh man, what sort of question? I have no idea.
Because you talked about bombing earlier on, I thought we'll try that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know how to. Yeah, definitely. I don't think I ever got over D-list celebrity sort of thing. I was no David Quirk, but
he does apologise for not being here today.
He's D plus. Oh, so this is like the midnight. So this is like 3 a.m. at an Irish pub in Knox.
That was in Knox.
Yeah.
Oh God, no wonder no wonder they went to the pub. They couldn't
really
drive their cars home. They'd been stolen.
It was really hard to find a cinema with a pub that would be willing to open at 3
in the morning.
But the Irish pub was up for it, and then so it actually did turn out. The plan did work out, and then when Star Wars was opening, like I had an in with Channel 10. And they got me to do, like, I got to interview Harrison Ford, which was just like...
As we saw earlier, yeah.
Just staggering.
Who was your in there at Channel 10?
Well, this guy...
Was that Tommy or was it...
Oh, no, like, this guy, Rob McKnight, who, he listened to the Green Guide podcast. And so that was a cool thing, because all these people coming up in the media industry were listening, because they were sort of early adopters sort of thing.
Yep.
So I sort of got, like, this awareness... Like, I wasn't sort of, like, famous mainstream, but, like, in...
The niche.
Yeah, those sort of people knew.
Yep.
So, I got to do the Harrison Ford thing, which was just staggeringly good. And then it's sort of all... Oh, Ben Mendelsohn came to my house one day to talk about Star Wars, and that was pretty sick. Melbourne boy.
Came to your house?
Yeah. I just, like, wrangle.
Wow.
I was just good at sort
There's
of...
a fair bit of confidence in him to go to someone's house. He must really have trusted you.
I don't think he cares. He rocked up with 3 different packs of ciggies, which I always just like...
As in 3 different brands, or 3 he was going to get through 3 packs?
3 different packs. They're all the same brand of various usages. But yeah, that was really... I don't know. I just like get into something, and then I'm just like... There's just the enthusiasm, and... I just like the fun. Like,
how did you wrangle your way to be on set and actually be in one of the movies?
That's the best scam of all, I feel like. So they started filming all the...
Is this...
Oh yeah, so this is Kenobi. This is the last episode of Kenobi, and there's Luke Skywalker. He's the little boy. And then there's Joel Edgerton, who's Australian, from The Secret Life of Us and stuff. So he's his uncle. And then the guy... just on the other side of the door in the background with the white sleeves, he's shoplifting, and that's me.
You're shoplifting?
Yeah. Because you had to... I don't know where to start with this story. So I actually... this is a weird thing to loop around. So I knew Luke Skywalker was. I knew where the camera was. I was good at working out where the camera was going to be, and then working out a way to get in that shot, sort of thing. Because like to be there, and I'll explain, like, because we're such nerds, we found out the code names of the show. So, because they never...
Like, so on set, it's got a different name, so...
Yeah, well, like, when it's in production, like, when they're, like, hiring, like, actors or catering or whatever, it's not called Star Wars Kenobi. It was called Joshua Tree. So, because otherwise you get idiots like me trying to get
hanging out the front, yeah, right? Yeah.
But if you're an uber idiot, you find out the code names, right? So we knew it was Joshua Tree. So we knew a couple people like that worked in background casting, and there was websites we used to put all these. So they'd put up a job for Joshua Tree, and we'd all, try to get it. And it was towards the end of COVID, and I knew it was going to be on Tatooine. Well, I knew it was Kenobi, so it must be on Tatooine. And I was like, how do I make myself more Tatooine-y? So I just didn't shave for like 6, like, on the hope that I would get a chance to get to apply. I just didn't shave, and I hate having a beard. It was so like prickly and shit, but it made a great Tatooine beard, and it did the trick. I'm there with Luke Skywalker. Right? So, and there's me in the corner there. There's
looking back this way.
Yeah, the Inquisitors are about
on
to
the right-hand
chop
side
off a lady's hand, and I'm very scared.
They're going to chop someone else's hand off. You're the shoplifter.
Yeah, I know. And the weird thing was, because of the effect, I saw a hand get chopped off about 40 times as they did all different shots. But yeah. So it was during COVID. So that's me after playing Star Wars for a day with Ewan McGregor and getting back in my car and just like going, like, there is nothing better that could ever happen to me than like to be on that. So, and it was one of the sets where they built like a whole town. Like, it wasn't like green screen. It was like in the base, like the bottom of an old quarry, and it was full Tatooine, and they rebuilt Luke's house from like the original film, and so I was just like tearing, and I made friends with all the like I went up to the dudes building Luke's house, and it was all fenced off. You weren't meant to go near there, and I just went up, not to go in there, I just went up to them and said, hey guys, like, this is amazing. Like, I like teared up the first time I saw this. You've done such a good job. It looks exactly like this. People are going to love, like, the work you've done is so good. And they're like, you want to come in and have a look? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to come in and have a look. Like, so I got to go in the house.
Sometimes it's simple, isn't it? Just have a chat to someone.
Yeah, well, you sort of have to keep it undercover that you're a massive Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Especially, because people thought that's, because I've worked for Star Wars essentially, like gone there to do press things and stuff, that they did it like, oh, you're a good little Star Wars fan, but it was full undercover. Like, we like didn't want anyone to know we had a Star Wars, like when we did Star Wars podcasts and stuff, because that's the last person they want.
Yeah,
because they want, because all those secrets are worth so.
Yeah.
They don't want people spoiling.
So you had to wait until it came out before you could say stuff, or?
Yeah, I didn't tell. I was so paranoid because also my name, like, it's so just like, you can't get away with shit in Rosebud when your name's Steele. Like Dean. Oh yeah, this guy Dean.
Yeah,
like,
there's 5 other Deans.
Yeah. So yeah, we kept it really secret, so much that like they had this big premiere for it at the Star Wars convention in Anaheim, and my friend, like, we watched it in this big auditorium, and none of my friends next to me even knew I was in it. And then
You hadn't even told them.
nah, because I thought it'd be funnier to, like, what I've got video, because people in the
But how do you tell someone, like, hey, that's me? Because you don't look like you in that.
Exactly. So we didn't know, because there were shots where I thought there's no, if they use that shot, people are going to go, you're just there, right? But there was this one shot, like, Ben Kenobi's looking at this Jedi that's been hung, like killed, and I'm behind him, like, looking all, like, sad. But I think maybe I'm a terrible actor because that shot didn't get used. But I thought that was going to be my money shot. So we're watching it at the convention, right? And I'm like, please, just give me some grain of evidence that I was in the show, because I don't want everyone to have to take my word for it. And then there were shots that, like, oh, I thought I was going to be in that. And I'm just like afterwards, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm in that. Oh, were you? Right? So no one actually saw me in it, but we went upstairs to the hotel, my hotel room, saying, oh, let's watch it again, right? And because I knew, so I'd bought, like, a bunch of beers and stuff. We went up there, and then my two friends that were also in the show, like, and they were the only ones in on the secret. So we all went, it was like 20 of us up there.
Did they get any screen time?
Not in this episode. They were on different planets. And we were watching, and I said, oh, this bit was, like, it comes up to where, in the first episode, where the lady gets her hand chopped off. And I'm like, oh, this bit's good. Let's watch this. And we're watching, I'm like, let's rewind it. It's a good bit. And then my two friends are, like, yeah, I love this bit. And then we watch it maybe, like, the third time. And then one of my friends, Brittany, she just goes, oh my God. And everyone's watching.
She picked it.
Yeah, and she's like, rewind. And then so we rewind, and then, then the whole group, everyone's just like, wow. Because, like, if you're like a mental nerd, this is, like, the best thing ever. Like, so it was just, yeah, it was sick. It was such a, it was unbelievable. And the fact that it was during COVID was super weird, because
Not much else going on.
Yeah, because it wasn't, and, like, we'd have to wear masks, like, outside, like, after the take, like, everyone masked back on, and it was super hot, like, I'm talking like 43 sort of thing. Right. And so,
and you're wearing all that garb, all that.
Yeah, but the rad thing was that they had, they were decked out with all hydration tablets and Gatorades. They had Gatorade in cans, which I'd never seen before.
Oh.
And drank quite a few. And I'm not a good hydrator. Like, my wife Jackie's always like, mate, drink some water. Yeah. But, like, because on the first day, people were just dropping. Like, people would, like, gunk, hold off, right? And I figured they're not getting invited back the next day, right?
They could have come back as the
ghost. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that had been hung.
And well, there was only room. That had been taken. That was the first one. So I was so paranoid that, like, I would pass out, that it was the most hydrated. I was taking every little tablet because I was like, I don't want to waste this. And then I'd, like, sort of, like, to the PAs, which is sort of the people that look after you. They're production assistants, not personal assistants. I'd just be super nice to them, and, like, so I'd get to, like, oh, we've just got one more scene with 6 more people. Oh yeah, I'll do it, because, like, I was in Wonka's factory.
You're just trying every opportunity, yeah. Imagine if you had drunk so much, though, that the time came up to go on set and you're like, oh, I've got to go to the piss.
Yeah, well, the robe, you just do it.
Piss in the robe. Yeah. It's not your robe.
Yeah. But it was...
Yeah. That links back to the pit. You could just... This is how it is in the hood.
But the thing that links back to the whole... to the sort of maybe one of the start of the story, where I was shoplifting, I had to come up, with a plan to stay in this shop. And so I did this on the first week I worked at Peninsula Surf. Yeah, and I'm just, whatever. So I'm pulling down the boogie board at the back of the shop, and meanwhile the other guy's put his hand under and nabbed a Rip Curl watch, right? And so they left, and then I've realised what's happened, and I don't really understand that means in a shop, but I thought it meant like new dudes getting fired 3 days into his job, and I just had this like, it saved me from cash converters. So I'm like, I lock the shop and go looking for the dudes, right? And so I go over to the train station and I see him and I go, hey mate, I need that watch back. And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, dude, I can see the lump in your tracksuit pants. I said, dude, I'm gonna get fired if I don't bring this watch back. So like, that's how much I need it back. So how about you just give it to me back? And because I was like, I'm not like a fighter or anything, but I like didn't want to lose my job. Like, because...
And for context, this is in Frankston.
Yeah, but I just really didn't want to lose my job. So he gave me the watch back, and I went back, and then I like rang up. I remember rang up Dan Brainbridge. I'm like, hey, this happened, and I went and got the watch back, and he's like, do not do that ever again. Just...
You almost had a different... You were almost UFC fighter career as well.
Oh, man.
Bloody hell.
He's like, do not... No, it's only a watch. We're not... Like, that happens. It's fine. And I was like, oh... I thought I was going to get fired for sure, and this is like a big opportunity. But that's what I was doing at the store. Because, you know, we'd make up little... You cross here to make it all look natural. Like when I watch TV shows, because I've done a lot of it after this, like it's almost like I can see the production assistants behind the wall going,
okay, now.
Go,
yeah,
go. So whenever I see someone walk, because if you're on especially an American show, if someone's in the background, they're paid. Like that car is not there by accident. It's hilarious, right? And so I worked out that there was 5 or 4 people telling people what to do, so you could just make up what you were doing to the first person, and they go, great. So they go, what are you doing?
So that's one less job they have to think about.
Well, they don't know you're making it. No, because I'm making up things that are going to serve me.
So they think that that's what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, so they're go, what are you doing? They're like, well, I just walked past Ewan before he goes into the farm, like into the farmhouse, which is like where the camera is. And they'll just go, great. And then just move on to the next person, right? Because they think someone else has told you.
Yeah.
So I just did that the whole time. So that was like, oh, they said just to mill about here. So I did the trick every time.
Brilliant.
So I had to do it like 20 times. So I'd go, and you don't know how much is going to be end up in the show.
Are you a Jedi?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were just portraying...
No.
Making them believe what you needed them to believe.
Group of people, so I just thought, oh, that's a funny name, it sounds Star Warsy. But my guy, his story that got played out behind the scenes was
in your world.
Yeah. He was meant to buy a blanket, a rug for his wife, and he bought a pillowcase instead, too small, because there was like this stall. There was all these stalls and with this merchandise. And then he went home and his wife got mad at him because he was meant to buy a blanket, not a pillow, but he'd spent all his money. So now he was trying to steal stuff around town. So this is like our fake little game of stuff. And so we made up characters for everyone, and none of the staff knows. Like,
that's so funny.
There was like 100 of us. Like,
there's a subplot within Star Wars.
So I did a PSC tribute of doing that shoplifting trick.
Did you do the? Can you get me that?
Yeah. So I'd say, get seed. Like, can I have a look at that? And then watch, look around, and I try to do it real obvious so you better see it in the background and stuff. And I've still got some of those little acorn things I stole actually.
That is great.
But yeah, that was really sick. And then I started doing background, because I worked out that like, if you're not a Star Wars nerd, like, because I just look around and look at sets all day and stuff and talk to people and stuff. But like, if you're on like Grey's Anatomy, you're paid to do nothing most of the day, because they only need you sometimes, but they need you to be there. Mm-hmm. And so after COVID, I was sort of rebuilding the shop at Shaw in the city, like, because like any business that had just been destroyed after COVID. So I had to do a lot of work, and I didn't the shop had no money. Like it was awful, the lockdowns and stuff. But this way I could go to a set and I'd still have like 10 hours to work out of 14.
So you could do your work while you're there.
And I was getting paid.
And you get called up for half an hour to do something.
Yeah. So it worked out really well, and that's sort of how I did the sticker wall, was on these sets. Yeah. Like I had all this
So before we go too far into that, sticker wall, that will slide into what the next sort of part of the STEELE.
You're doing really well trying to get, like, you mentioned stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that 10 years as well. Like.
But so the Shore store, which is something that I'm sure you're actually really proud of what you've achieved with that, and especially the sticker wall, which we'll talk about individually later. But how did the Shore store start, and how long has it been around?
It's about to turn 15 this December, and it originally was down on Manchester Lane, which is sort of down near Flinders Street and stuff.
Yeah, nice little place.
Yeah. And
it was quite small though, wasn't it?
It's actually bigger than the current one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Okay. But this is the current one on Little Lonsdale, which is just around the corner from like the library bank, the state library, down the road from. If you go a bit further down there, there's the Vans store that's like in the mall. But yeah, that sort of started because we were distributing these brands, and there was a sneaker shop in the original spot called Provider, and they were they went bankrupt or whatever. And it's because it's a hard thing to work out how to make that sort of business work. And but we would sell to them, and then so that shop was gone, but then we had all these brands that now they didn't really have a home that we distributed. So we sort of just took over this, sort of bought like the spot off them or something. And started Shore out of there. And then, so it was sort of in the partnership with Ken for a long time. And then just before COVID.
Ken is the one that you did Spire with?
Yeah. Who's, maybe like, I don't know, like 20 years older than me or something. Yep. And just another dude that just like, sort of looked after me really good and sort of like taught me so much. And then so during COVID, it's just like I remember there was one day and we had negative $27 in the store account, which is like a business with negative $27.
It's not a good sign. No,
it's not.
You talked about math being true earlier on.
Yeah. There was a mathematical reason to have a frown. But so it was like that. It was like really like brutal in that, like I've had this like for me like a really exciting life, and I've sort of got to see not so much like do all these great, but like watch them happen and be involved from the sidelines, and like I just loved every minute of it. And I've done these businesses, and and now I've got negative $27.
Yeah,
like it's all.
That's not the way it's meant to be.
Like
is
I've
it?
ended up with nothing.
So that was one of the lowest points, I suppose, in the things you've been involved in.
Yeah, it was so. It was brutal. And I remember like we live opposite this big park, thankfully in LA. Because that was our park we were allowed to go to and stuff. So we had this massive amount of space to still live in. And I remember pushing Harry, he was like a lot younger, and just pushing him, trying to get him to sleep across this field. Just like going, man, I am like fucked. Like I'm done, and the fun's over, and I'm gonna have to get like some just whatever job in America just to have, like, do you know what I mean? Like I applied. How's this? I applied for. I forgot. Because a lot of that stuff, I'm like, I've just gotten rid of it, right? Just because it's like
bad. Yeah.
I applied for a job at Trader Joe's, which
I thought you were going to say cash converters.
No, I applied for a job at the supermarket because I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I've got nothing.
Just get anything you can.
And I was like, they pretty much said like, no offense, but you're going to leave as soon as
things start up again.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, like, and they're like, yeah, so that's like, I don't think you'd work here and stuff. But that was like, man, going to, like, I hadn't worked for anyone for like, you know, since PSC, really.
And even then, you were fairly autonomous.
Yeah, so I was, going to like work the cash register and like, they do have really good staff there. Like, no, I shit you not, the service at Trader Joe's, they will take you exactly to the spaghetti sauce. Like, they're really good. So full credit to them, and I would have been thrilled to continue their legacy of good service. But they didn't want me because they knew I wasn't dedicated. I didn't have the eye of the tiger. So, so I was like pushing it, because I'd go to the park every day, and every day would be exactly the same because nothing was happening because of COVID, and LA just has the same weather. So it was just like this real
groundhog.
Every day the same, every day the same, every day the same. There was this billboard, because LA is so billboarded out, but then none of them changed for 10 months or whatever. And there was this, I remember this billboard, massive billboard for Ben Affleck. He was teaching some basketball team how to, I don't know, get their dream, whatever the movie was. And he had stubble. And I remember, like, after 6 months, like, going, I'm sure he's got more stubble now.
You're expecting the billboard to grow a beard.
Yeah, but no, in my head, I'm like, was he that stubbly at the start of this? I don't know. I think I'm losing my mind. But that was when I was actually, I'd watch a lot of skate stuff, and I think you guys had all your archives up because you did before COVID, yeah.
Yeah, our stuff was before COVID.
Yeah. So I remember just like watching all that and sort of just getting amped on that, and then I was sort of just working out, like, what do I have? I've got all these sporadic things. What can I get out? Like, what can I use all this stuff to do? And I was like, I had the shop, and then I was like, oh, I've got all these interests and stuff. What if I just put it all in, like the skateboarding, streetwear, like there's like the Star Wars stuff, podcasting, but I just focused it all in there and did a new shop and just gave it, like, I think all these talents that are part, because I've done all these different things and picked up all these different skills, like, if I just focus them all on the one thing, except for like all these, like the podcasting things separate from the shop sort of thing, what if I merged it all together? Could I, do something? And then I would go to old shops around America when I'd we'd just go on a road trip, and you always find the old skate shop. Mm-hmm, and then they had like the sticker wall, like the older the shop, there'd just be a door or a toilet where everyone
would put a sticker as
and I
venture through.
I started really thinking about, maybe because I was so sad, but I'd think about like how seeing the old trinkets and these things, how they like sort of spark happiness sort of thing. And there was a shop in LA called Lottie's, which isn't there anymore, but they had a really cool wall.
In relation to Brian Lottie, the skateboarder?
No, but that's why I first was like, oh my God, Brian Lottie's got a skate shop, I'm going there. He actually had an art show around the corner from my house, and I went there and just gushed to him about how much his striped t-shirts meant to me. I'm like, oh mate, I'm still on striped t-shirts to this day from that. And he's just like,
he was a H Street skater.
H Street, and then Planet Earth, and Blind.
Yep.
But the best. Good striped t-shirts. So then I sort of thought about like, how I can sort of reboot the shop and just make it like about, like, not have all these, things are sort of separate. Like, do you know what I mean? You don't expect to see like Simpsons toys in a skateboard shop, but I like both. So maybe other people might like them together as well.
Yep.
So I just wanted to build this shop that was like those old, like what like retail was in the 90s or the 80s, where you'd walk in and like, I don't know what I'm going to find. And, you'd go into the city and you'd do your lap all around Chapel Street. You go to Snake Pit, you go to Motion. There was the collectibles, just collectibles and stuff. Yeah. So sort of do that. And then I had the idea for the sticker wall that it was just going to be behind the shoes at one point. And then I was like, well, if you're going to do it, like, because I sort of like being in LA, like shops have, not skate shops, but just regular shops have like a tourist attraction sort of, like something.
A hook.
Yeah. And so I was like, I thought, because I wanted to have like a big thing, and I was talking to artists, but I didn't have any money to pay them. So like that was sort of out of the way. And then I was like, well, I know friends with lots of stickers, and I do have an excruciating amount of free time at the moment. So I had this idea to just do the shoe wall, and then as I sort of got into it, I was like, this is a waste of time. People aren't going to tell anyone about it if it just goes up to their head. But if it goes for a whole wall, then maybe people will go, hey, you should check out that shop, like if you're in the city and you're into skating sort of thing. And then so I just got stickers from various very lovely people around the world, from all the things that have sort of made me happy, like from that first day of seeing like Future Primitive or whatever.
Yeah.
So like there's music, there's Star Wars,
cool.
podcasting, and then there's like random, like there's like a pancake parlor sticker in there and all this random stuff. So it was awesome.
What's that Bert and Ernie one?
That's an Andy Murphy one.
Is that a Bert Newton?
No, it's Bert and Ernie, but it's Bert Newton and Ernie Dingo. That's Andy Murphy. That's peak Andy Murphy, actually.
So good. So
so the process involved scanning all the stickers, because they're not actually there. Right?
They're not individual stickers. You've got to
so I scanned them all individually, and then I had to work out this way to edit them to look like they're stuck. Because see how you can see the wood, like see like the World Industry ones, like the Daily one, like you can see the wood behind it.
Yep.
If you just scan them and they had the white backgrounds, it wouldn't have that thing.
Yep.
So, but it was excruciating to take off the clear. But then I learned this trick that you could have a film, like it would have visually look like the sticker was still there, like by having a dual layer, taking out the white. But like, so it looks like, so people touch it, because you know how like when you see like an old power sticker, you know when it's on the board and you can see the outline of the vinyl, of the adhesive.
Yep.
And so to have that effect, because if you just got the say the Tony Hawk logo without that, it's just a graphic.
Yeah.
But it's having the outline of the sticker that
look like
really
sticker,
jars your memory, sort of thing.
So they still look like an outline, but it's clear, not a white background, and so you can still think it's a sticker.
Yeah, and I remember I was that guy Cam that used to have the Blue Tile Lounge.
Cam Scott.
Yeah. So he came in the shop one day, right? And he's just the best dude, and talking like there's nothing I love better than like just tossing on about all this old stuff.
As we know, 2.5 hours in. Yeah.
Are you serious? It's 2.5 hours?
2.5 hours and 4 minutes.
No, I apologise to everyone. I was like, oh yeah, it must be about an hour and 20 right now. But I do. Well, that's the whole thing, is enthusiasm, right? So he's talking, and then he goes, I said something about, he goes, oh, did you ever regret sticking them all? And I'm like, what? They're not stickers. And he touched it and he goes, oh man, I thought they were all stickers. But so it took like 10 months. Like, it was excruciating. But I was just like, I told my wife, I was like, I have to ruin my life for about a year and a half, because I have to get like 3 years of work done in the shortest amount of, like, do you know what I mean?
You really do bite off and just keep chewing, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's, I don't know.
That's why you're the Forrest Gump of everything.
Yeah, but so this is this is like the posters we printed up on it, so you can.
Sick.
So this is it in real life. In real life, this is 16 foot wide by 11 foot high.
That's upside down.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is too. So yeah.
So in real life, it's this way.
Yeah. So I sort of did it.
Oh no way, M2O.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's what I knew. See, look, you're happy.
I love it. Brian, mate, this is so cool.
Yeah. So they're sort of all done in like groups of like who lent them to me. So this is like Hallam's section. No, actually, this is Jason Rothmeyer. You know, the guy in Set Foundation.
Yep.
We're a big Star Wars fan. So we're sort of Star Wars.
He's a video guy. He does lots of video stuff for skateboarding, or is it?
Yeah, he hosts like a lot of stuff, and he works at New Balance and stuff, and does a lot of judging. Yeah. And then, and so the cool thing about it was an excuse to reconnect with all these people. So this chunk here is all from Hallam's collection, Tony Hallam. So I hadn't in any contact with him for like 15 years. I'm like, oh, hey man, I'm working on this thing. And he, like, to his credit, met me in the shop with a few boxes of like thousands, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Did he give those to you, or
well, lent them to me
to scan and put up? Yeah.
And so, like, but I was like, I had him in my car. Like, I put him in the car and then just drove. Like, I was scared to get petrol.
You didn't want to leave them
because
couldn't leave them alone.
Because I'd gone and done a lap of Melbourne and got all these. So my car was just filled with all these, everyone's old sneakers, you know, because they're all, you know, old DC boxes or whatever from when you started your collection, right? And so that's like Stealth, Matt Hill's section.
Oh yeah,
there's some Andy Murphy ones. There's some Ben Harris, like there's like crazy old snake pit one. There's like an old tongue biters one down there.
Oh, that is an old snake pit one.
And then Hans DC.
Hans DC got on there.
He got me a couple. I got this is a very Delete the Elite. That's a very controversial one. You remember that one?
No, whose is that one?
Do you remember Delete the Elite?
No.
And it was like they made them about like Greg and Ben and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a whole thing. So
I remember something about a Mr. S at one point that I think might have been in relation to me, but I don't know.
Sure. And then Ed Kroll, who's the...
Oh, you got an Ed Kroll stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got the biggest chunk, probably that much over there. So yeah, it was... I worked out or guessed that I probably did about 500 hours on it. And because it was like to edit them all and then to lay them out so they look scattered but neat but messy
but still visual
but layered. It was quite like I had to. Are you saying I've got OCD? I know I've got something, but I'm sort of just making
ADHD and OCD.
Yeah, okay.
Amazing.
Well, that's like when you go into the shop and there's this and then there's all these frames and it is like going in my head. Because it's like all the same topics. So it's like it's all going on.
It's not a skate shop per se. It's a life shop. Like it's your life shop.
I call it a good stuff shop. It's got good stuff in there. Like, but it is heavily like we sell boards and stuff. But it's like we're not trying to be like the majority of the boards we sell get hung on a wall. Like we stock those sort of ones and stuff. But and then this year we're actually branching out and we're wholesaling the clothing. So there's going to be like Shaw stuff like
elsewhere
in other shops and stuff. So it's been really fun to sort of work with factory, because then you can make whatever you want, like as far as jackets and jeans, because the quantities are up.
Yep.
So so that's like sort of the big thing for this year, hopefully.
So folks, get on into Little Lonsdale Street and check out the Shaw store. You won't see Steele there every day because he does live in the US.
But when I'm there...
But when he's there, he's there till 1 in the morning.
There without an hour conversation.
Yeah, he's there till 1 in the morning at least.
I don't know. It's just like... It's just so... Like, we just got such a gateway to like having a fun life. And I just as I got older, I was just like how lucky was that? Like I got the tape and like people had sort of set the scene and the Hills wanted to make lots of money, so they had all these events that worked. I was like, they got their marketing full value out of their marketing dollars for me because they do all this stuff to promote skateboarding, but I was like,
you sucked it all in.
I was just like, yes, it's like that is sick. When's the next one, sort of thing. So if you're in the city, check that out. And also we're sort of firing up the podcast and the YouTube sort of stuff on now that I've sort of got the shop sort of settled. So it's Shaw Melbourne, I think, on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, there's some actually good you put some of your old footage and stuff on there. It's really good to watch.
Got the original Snake Pit video up there I found on an old tape and some old Frankston footage. And
you put the tongue biters, you put that on there as well? Yeah.
And then I've got all this old footage from the 90s that I want to do a bit of an edit with and put up and enjoy the good times. But I had no idea that it was like 2.5 hours. So.
That's more than that, well and truly. On that note, do we have any interactions on our Facebook that you want to...
Comments a lot, but it's been long gone.
No questions that we need to answer off that, no?
I'd like to just show
Steel and I had a bit of a chat.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
We should play that for you.
Well, yeah, I was talking about the footage that I'm editing. So
Okay.
I brought it in a little clip.
That is amazing to see that footage. I didn't know it existed.
Yes, there was a rainy night in Frankston, 21st Century Dance Club.
In a nightclub, and there was a revolving dance floor around next to it as well. And
Yeah, I think it was about 5 minute of rotation.
I've never counted it, but yeah. Now, in that little episode there, you passed me a picture of my brother skating, doing a wall ride. I'm trying to picture where that is.
Is it
It's in the
City Square?
city. Yeah. I think that would have been after a demo we did with these. We used to take jump ramps down into the city square.
Yeah, well, I didn't take that photo, but when you'd send photos to Perfect Transition, sometimes, very rarely, they'd send you the photos back, which I do have some bad feelings about that. But yeah, I got sent that one. It wasn't like when I was going through my photos, I'm like, I didn't take this, but I'm like, oh, that's Grant Sammut. So
That's so cool. There's he was in the back cover of the magazine doing an airwalk on that board off that ramp.
Yeah, but it was an airwalk the other way.
Yeah, like
on
a
the
stairwalk.
Grosso. Yeah. I remember everything.
And there was a big crowd around. It was actually a really fun demo. It was just impromptu. We went down and did it. And this must have been after. There's no crowd around. So this must have been afterwards when we just took the ramp down there, which was pretty cool to be able to do that back in the day. Just take a ramp out to the city square and put it against a wall or whatever.
Animal chin style.
So, yeah, very good. It's been a fantastic chat. It's
been
one of those things.
I had no idea, but I just get in the zone. I just don't.
Oh, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? There's no, we don't have a set thing. It's like skateboarding. There's no rules. We can do what we want. So,
I guess, I don't know. I just I'm just like everyone that contributed to it, like all the characters. Like
so many of them over the years, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just so like I was saying before, like we used to see you guys and just be so stoked and like try our hardest to do a trick, and I don't know, it's just such a
I would have said good one for the flyway, mate. Well done.
I was done with flyways by then. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I just really appreciate how exciting we got to make like these sort of pretty we're just out in the suburbs or whatever, and we just got given this like sort of guide on how to have an incredible amount of fun.
An opportunity to just live.
And to find all these other wounds.
Yeah. It's been a great chat. I do want to mention that if you would like to support the channel, that there is the GoFundMe on this occasion. Keep an eye out for the links on that one. Patreon will be coming up as well as an option to help support the channel, because this doesn't run by itself. 2.5 hours of people's time doesn't come for free, and nor does the studio and the equipment and everything. So, get in and support Shore Store. Check out some of the.
What level do I have to Patreon at to get this Hallam episode? Because I've got like.
Yeah, let's do it. It's already in the bank. Don't worry.
Oh, have you already recorded? So it's done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's ready to go. It's ready to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We just, it's just one of those things.
Man, that teaser that got me through COVID. I'm like,
I'll tell you, when are you back in Australia?
Hopefully Easter.
We're on. You and I are going to sit next to Tony and interview him for
dude, you're
2.5
up for
hours.
more of this? This is okay. Oh man, I've got 8,000 questions because like he was so like a megastar and like and just involved in all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like
I grew up relatively close to him in terms of he was always a part of our lives and stuff, and so I haven't got as many questions, but I do have one big question I'd like to really get into him about. So let's sit together. You ask 1,000, I'll ask one, and we'll see what that turns out to be.
Yeah, my ones are just, what was that sticker on your board? What did that mean?
Yeah.
I love knowing all that stuff.
Yeah. He will remember and tell you the answer to it too. He's quite clear. As old as he is, and he still remembers a lot. So.
Yeah. Whenever I get a chance to like just get his ear for 15 minutes, I tell you the sticker wall, the one that I like texted him at like 3 a.m. when I was going through it. He had a 60-minute sticker signed by
George Negus.
No, the lady. What was the lady? It wasn't Tracy Kuro. It was.
Not Yana Wendt?
No, but remember the lady with the short hair that was on that did the thing with Lee Ralph and the hills and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I wish I could remember it, but it's the sticker signed from her to Tony.
Wow.
That is like because that 60-minute segment was. We won't go into it, but it's really good. Just watch it on YouTube, guys. And
Borgie does an acid drop.
Yeah, and just know that I watched it about 300 times in '87.
And speaking of the sticker wall, I have got a couple of
the Demo
stickers.
King.
So there's a couple of them that I think they're my last ones, but anyway, you're going to scan them and return them. You're welcome to put those up on your sticker wall.
Well, they're actually already on the sticker wall.
There you go.
So I don't want to take your last stickers, but I do have both those stickers are on the wall.
Are they already on the wall?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to come in.
Ed Kroll's collection was very
what
thorough.
A legend. Yeah.
Very thorough. And the messed up thing was, on the backs of them was my handwriting on most of them. Like $2 in my...
Oh, really?
Yeah, from PSC, which was really weird. I was like, oh, we meet again.
The Ed Kroll one too, you talked about messed up things. I can tell you messed up stories about him, but that will be after hours because we're at a fair time limit right now.
Ed Kroll's got nothing but golden stories. He's a beautiful
it was we were skating in the city one night and we got accosted and his reaction was gold.
Okay.
So, folks, thank you very much for watching, and if you've lasted this long then we've entertained you. That's great. Steele, you've been entertaining and I've loved it, and like I said at the start, it's a great opportunity to get to know people that I know even more, and this has been a really fun chat and walk through the life of Steel Saunders.
Thanks. Well, it was like I've always been a big fan, so it was really cool to hang out.
A big fan of their side, not of Dean. That's all right.
No, of Dean. Dude.
Yes, Mum.
You used to be in like
number one.
No, but you were in the Snake Pit like catalogue. You'd send in money to get a catalogue, and then you'd be in a catalogue skating. Like,
that's it, yeah.
So. I'm into it. Sammut Brothers, when they rocked up, it was time to step up.
I'm just going to come back online for a second. So they can see you all.
That was so cool. Very, very cool. Great stories. Great stories. Told really well too.
Oh, Tar, thank you. It was so much fun.